Chapter 1. Manhattan, New York. This is the core of New York, the financial center of the United States, and the gathering place of upper-class society. The world-famous Wall Street is located in the south of Manhattan Island and is lined with tall buildings. Hell's Kitchen in the independent small building. Sumo woke up with pain while holding his head. Damn it! Why does my head hurt so much? An unfamiliar stream of memories rushed into his mind, and as the memories merged, Sumo gradually realized it, and he passed through. This 16-year-old boy named Sumo is a Hyuxia American and Hyuxia American mixed race. His parents died in an air crash last week. According to relevant laws and records, he will inherit all his parents' inheritance. Because of the extreme sadness, I had to use wine to dissipate my sorrows. And the earthling with the same name and surname, he also slept for some reason and crossed over to the dead, and the dead was resurrected. Sumo took a picture in the mirror. The handsome, blonde boy patted his cheek and felt a slight pain. It was not a dream. I would rather dream. Sumo didn't have the joy of inheriting the family property. Instead, he shouted sadly. This was all because the newspaper reports made him feel cold. The front page of the New York Times turned out to be that Stark Industries has won another tens of billions of orders from the military, accompanied by a picture of the board of directors. Standing in the middle is a cynical man with a mustache. His name is Tony Stark. This is Marvel Universe. Whether it is a comic or a movie, he will be finished. If Sumo is going to move directly out of the United States before the release of Avengers 3, New York is the focus. But as soon as Fusion 3 came out, Thanos snapped his fingers, and the ghost knew if he was one of the half, and GG was waiting for him. The whole universe is like this, there is nowhere to escape. Sumo picked up the paper in the newspaper. Besides Stark Industries, there are some experts discussing mutants. Obviously, this is the universe of Avengers and X-Men fusion. It would be even more dangerous to think about it this way. He had already figured out whether he should continue to get it. With the legacy he left behind, besides this refined Western-style building, there is a comic company. Advertisement. Then I thought that he was an assistant to a comics company in his previous life, and he didn't expect to return to his old business. Anyway, he couldn't stop the destruction of the world, he might as well break out of the world, and at least he didn't pass through it in vain after he died. Sumo sat in the chair and controlled the computer to check it. Sure enough, as in the memory, today's comics are dominated by superheroes, all because of the captain of Steve, who was officially portrayed as a lone hero, with extremely high integrity and noble quality, and a proper godly righteousness. People, godlike figures. So today's comics market is full of themes like Steve, the same thing, and the hard work of the villain finally broke out and knocked down. At the same time, he also noticed that the cultural industry of Marvel Universe is relatively scarce, and the subject matter of comics is very rare. Sumo has a rough look at it, but the artist is good, but the interest is lacking. This excites Sumo. In this case, at least it is good to build a comic empire by himself before Thanos snaps his fingers. He took a piece of white paper and lay it flat on the table, took out the pencil from the drawer, and was about to start drawing a comic that overwhelmed the concept of heroes in his previous life. But who knows that when the pen touches the white paper, an inexplicable voice rang in his mind. The big cartoonist system is being turned on, has been activated, and the host can call it with just a thought. Sumo was stunned for a moment, and then ecstatic. He actually still had cheats, and he immediately became excited when he was just preparing to salt the fish. A translucent interface appeared in front of you, and the whole was divided into three areas, namely search, lottery, and warehouse. A translucent interface appeared in front of you, and the whole was divided into three areas, namely search, lottery, and warehouse. Sumo clicked on search, and an interface that looked like Du Niang popped up. There was no keyboard tool to type out the word One Piece and press search. Then the cover and introduction of the character appeared as soon as the screen turned, and just drag it down. The number of chapters, the number of words. Sumo clicked on the first sentence, and the system sounded in his mind. Host, all the comics searched out can be printed on paper with ghosts, just copy the strokes hiss. Such a choking operation. Isn't this just the messenger in the transmission? Sumo's face changed slightly when he heard that, and the virtual interface directly became movable. He placed the erected interface flat on white paper and even adjusted the size, length, and width of the interface. As the interface shifted to the top of the white paper, after a thought move, a bewildering scene appeared. A faint shadow slowly appeared on the white paper, which made Suemo lament that it was so convenient. Even people who don't know how to paint can complete the first page in less than a few minutes according to the phantom outline. This is an artifact in front of comics. Advertisement. Suemo simply finished the first sentence and looked at the above, and there was no difference in his memory. He moved to the second area while stunned. At the top of this area is the words, fan value, 0, below it is placed like a lottery turntable, the turntable is dark and full of unknowns. Suemo wondered, what does this mean? Each published work can get a different fan value, and the lottery consumes fan value to get any possessions in the published work. Fans can be divided into 4 types, each ordinary fan can provide a little fan value every month, each sincere fan will provide 10 fan points per month, each loyal fan provides 100 fan points per month, each brain residue fan provides 10,000 fan points every month. In the end, this kind of exaggeration may be a lot of stars, but there are not many who admire cartoonists. Suemo shook his head and thought in a deep voice. Host, this kind of fan is more terrifying than admiring a star, and treats the admiring object as a god. Understood. How is the lottery calculated? Each draw starts at 100,000, and the more you consume, the greater the chance of getting precious items. Suemo raised his brows and asked, in other words, there is still a chance to get precious items for 100,000. Theoretically exist. Suemo knows what it means when he hears the words, I'm afraid the chances are terribly small. The third area is the warehouse, which should be used to hold the items obtained in the lottery. There is nothing in it, and there is no so-called novice spree. Suemo clicked back to the search bar again, and began to think about the interface. If only the search function was a taste for him, it was just a free brain. However, adding the lottery function will be very different. Thinking of this, Suemo dazzled his eyes, clasped his hands, and secretly said, this function will be the basis for him to do a great job in this Marvel universe. Chapter 2. Do. The phone on the desk rang. Suemo picked it up and checked it. Driz, I know you have been in a bad mood lately, but you can't continue like this. Your parents' company still needs you to continue. Now you have not seen any signs for a week, and there are cartoonists in the company that have started to jump. It was a strong voice coming from the phone, and Suemo smiled bitterly at the head-to-face words. Quizit is the English name of Suemo Uncle Andy. I will go to the company today. If you miss a bad jump, I have a better cartoonist. Better? Forget it, wait until you come. As the opposite end hung up, Suemo called out, and took out a stack of white paper from the drawer. Put away the words of One Piece before, type 4 words in the search bar, and start to draw the gourd. According to memory, Uncle Andy is a good friend of his father and the current general manager of the company. Even though the company sounds tall, it's actually not big at all. There are 4 cartoonists, 6 cartoon assistants, and other employees, which add up to just 15 people. It's completely the studio's lineup. This is also the common level of today's comic companies. The classification of comics is scarce, and the heroic theme given by the Captain of the United States is never tired. Most cartoonists are afraid that innovation will lead to loss of money and do not want to make progress. This situation does not have one supermany power or a separatist regime. Instead, it becomes a situation where the competitiveness is not large, and it is even more lazy to see a consortium that does not have much interest. There are 5 or 6 companies like this in New York alone, and they are all private companies that are wholly owned by individuals, and their employees are only paid. However, the cartoonist is stunned by the wind. Seeing that the company's power is lost, the future will be lost and the future will be lost. For Suemo, who has a magical tool, it can be said that it is a good time to show his talents and build his own comic empire. It didn't take long for Suemo to finish drawing the 4 words, put it in his backpack and put it on his body, and got up and went out. New York in 2008 can be said to be the center of the world. The streets were crowded with people and traffic. Suemo looked up at the dazzling sunlight, as if a world away. The company is located near Times Square, the most prosperous area in Manhattan. It is called the crossroads of the world. It gathers a large number of businesses, theaters, and entertainment venues. It can be said that the location is very good. Sumo's location is still some distance away from Times Square, so he directly took a taxi and intercepted a taxi. The driver was a black man and he gave full play to the black sense of humor. Advertisement. The enthusiastic driver chatted all the way, but Suemo didn't answer a word. After arriving at the place, he took out a banknote and left without waiting for the change. Seeing this, the beautiful black brother sang loudly and sighed that he was another rich man. 2 minutes later, Su Mo arrived at his destination, standing in front of a tall building, and his comic journey began. Building 7th floor. It was contracted by Tengman Company, but in fact only a part of the space was used. When I planned to use all of it, I didn't expect the person in charge to die in an air crash. Now all the employees of the company are deeply disturbed and even in crisis. A man with disheveled hair walked into the office and took out a letter to Andy, the black-haired and blue-eyed manager, and said flatly, "Andy, this is my resignation letter. Don't consider staying." Andy accepted the letter of resignation and kept the way. The man shook his head, and left without saying anything. Oh, this kid. Andy knows what the cartoon assistant is trying to say, but it's not because Su Mo has not come to the company for a day after inheriting the company since his parents passed away. This is an irresponsible performance in the eyes of others. Andy knows what the cartoon assistant wants to say, but it is not because Su Mo has not come to the company for a day since his parents passed away. This is an irresponsible performance in the eyes of others. There is no sense of security and no interest binding. Coupled with the current recession in the cartoon industry, companies that go bankrupt at any time are not their ideal place to sacrifice. "Uncle Andy, how is the company now?" Su Mo walked in directly and said to Andy. "You can come, now the company has no cartoonists, there are only 2 cartoon assistants, and only 5 other employees. The others are gone." Andy desperately said that he appeared, and to Su Mo he hated iron and steel. They left. When Andy heard Su Mo's indifferent attitude, he furiously said, "Without a cartoonist, the company simply can't survive." "I am not." Su Mo slowly took the sketch from his backpack and patted it on the table, with a smile at the corner of his mouth. "I'll do it alone." Advertisement. That's right, the other cartoonists left are just what he wanted. In Su Mo's eyes, their cartoons are not good at all. Perhaps the painting skills are good, but the story is old-fashioned and has no value. "You." Andy is about to explode, staring at the boss. He has never heard that Su Mo has the ability to paint. Isn't he a college student? Suspicious, he picked up the drawing. First of all, the title page was a man with a bald cape. He only drew the back, without the indifferent faintly revealed front that he could feel. The painting skills are almost the same as those of the previous cartoonists, and Andy is a little relieved at this time. The company still has hope on this point. After reading 2 pages, his brow furrowed. It started out in the ruins of the city, a huge, weird monster was slaughtered in the city, and ordinary people were destroyed directly under his light ball. As soon as the screen turned, Saitama was wearing a white cloak while watching the report at home, and said, "Justice is executed." The bald and stupid people set up with high-quality pictures to make readers a little bit interested. This is what Andy thinks. The beginning of the article stated that this is a heroic theme. Even if the market still accounts for the vast majority of themes, it feels insensible to readers. Because the content of such themes are mostly the same, the protagonist accidentally gains Superman powers, and then after several twists and turns, he becomes a superhero and fights criminals in the city. There is nothing new. A survey last week has shown that the hero theme is gradually cooling down, and new content is needed to attract readers. With this kind of unchanging routine, Andy doesn't need to look at it to know what's going on behind it. Sure enough, Saitama rescued the little girl under the portrayal of a gust of wind, and the weirdo and Saitama started to babble. This passage seemed to Andy to be very, very weird. For example, this monster is called the Vaccine Man, a weird person born from pollution and destruction of the Earth's environment, which is somewhat similar to radiation upgrade. And this hero named Saitama is even more absurd, and it is said that he is a hero of interest. Chapter 3. Hero. Even though he was still interested, Andy screamed in his heart, glanced at Su Mo and didn't know what to say. Is this kind of lack of muscles really worth seeing? Obviously Saitama's casual words stimulated the Vaccine Man's self-esteem, and in other words, he also got angry. The Vaccine Man became so huge in his anger that he was undoubtedly more powerful than before, and Andy felt that the stranger waved his hand and the hero who was interested in him would die on the spot. The difference in body shape between the two sides is huge, and the aura is even more incomparable. Seeing Saitama's expression like a hairdryer, Andy can't help but touch his forehead. Is this a dark hero comic? This is a new comic idea. The protagonist is abused throughout the whole process, his girlfriend is dead, and even a criminal can be beaten for a quarter. Such novel ideas were sought after at first, but readers couldn't stand it when they followed suit, and the mentality exploded directly. There was no expectation for the plot, and Andy, who was about to say a few good words after watching it, turned to the next page. Well, it really is like this, hey. After seeing the picture depicted on the next page, Andy's body suddenly shook, the goosebumps were all up, and the eyeballs almost flew out of his eye sockets. Andy muttered to himself, "You must have missed it." Turning the comic back one page, he quickly flipped back and forth in a daze. The result was basically the same. The brows were frowning. Wushan looked at Su Mo and asked softly, "Did you drop a few pages?" Su Mo looked at Uncle Andy's dazed look, and couldn't help but rejoice, "Not a single page has been dropped, that's it." "Oh, shit." After getting the answer that wasn't what he wanted, Andy caught the attention of the employees outside the door with a violent slur, and read the last words in a mess. In a daze, he gently put down the draft of Chapter 4, fearing that the paper would be destroyed. He couldn't help swallowing, and asked, "What is the name of the comic?" Obviously, this comic directly overturns the traditional definition of a hero. The protagonist is not a saint, nor does it have a superpower, and the three views are not a heroic concept, just as it says. It's just interest. This is the first time he has been so fascinated as a manager and editor in many years. Absolutely fire. The previous vaccine people thought it was the same as the radiation upgrade. In fact, the crabman in the second chapter has already made it clear. In fact, these settings are full of insinuations to traditional criminals. The villain's nonsense is actually useless. Saitama punched him to death. The contrast was big enough to attract eyeballs. There is no logic at all, and the settings are messy. It's completely random to think about, but it's beautiful and can't stop. In addition, these exquisite original paintings are completely the highest level of painting skills in the United States. It is conceivable that the manga market that has begun to decline will definitely rebound because of this. Advertisement. Su Mo spread his hands and said lightly, "One Punch Man." One Punch, it fits this cartoon. Andy once again picked up the drawing and flipped it from time to time, clearly admiring, "Very amazing comic. So I will do it." Andy heard the words and said worriedly, "Even so, the company can't be supported by only one comic, you don't have enough energy." This is the truth. It is impossible for a company to make money from a cartoonist at all. If it were not for the Great Depression, I am afraid that more cartoonists would join the market today. Be at ease, Uncle Andy, I have Su as wonderful as this cartoon here. Su Mo pointed to his head and believed himself. If there is no system, the comics he recalled are really limited, and with the search function, I am afraid that he will never finish painting in his life. Well then, you are the boss anyway. Andy sighed helplessly. Although he was a friend of Su Mo's father, he did not have any shares and could only make suggestions. He is still a little worried. Su Mo shook his head secretly when he saw this. He knew what he was thinking, and the facts can only be witnessed in the future. What he said now is futile. After a pause, after thinking about it, he said, "Rename the original magazine to Juvenile Jump. From now on, all my comics will be placed on it." Shonen Jump is the highest circulation shonen manga magazine published by Shueisha in the previous life. It serializes countless well-known classics. Shonen Jump is the highest circulation shonen manga magazine published by Shueisha in the previous life. It serializes countless well-known classics. For example, One Piece, Dragon Ball, Naruto, Shinigami, Full-Time Hunter, and so on. These Su Mo must be moved one by one. After listening to Andy, he said clearly, "Juvenile Jump, the comic copyright of the resigned cartoonist is in his hands. What do you think? Should I ask someone to continue the drawing?" After the signed cartoonist resigns, the comics will be in the hands of the original company. Unless it is a big-name cartoonist, renewal is also the practice of most companies. No, don't continue painting. The key to Junior Jump is friendship, hard work, and victory. The traditional superhero theme has been solidified and it is no longer necessary. Su Mo began to analyze, and directly scanned the cartoons of several people into the trash can. I don't know if they will vomit blood when they know it. Andy understood and nodded. Through a short time of understanding, he has found that Su Mo has been able to stand alone. His words are reasonable, and his behavior is even more vigorous. He is not as humble as his father's traditional Hyuxia people. No doubt Su Mo is even better. and his taste of this American. Then Andy and Sue Mo started planning for the future in the office, and even discussed the idea of animation. Both of them are full of confidence in One Punch Man. On the journey of animation, the existing manpower is obviously not enough to start hiring people after the success of the new comics. Both want to do animation by themselves, and it is undoubtedly more profitable to produce and sell themselves. In fact, if Sue Mo is in the ordinary world, he can stay steadily in a hurry, but now he knows in Marvel Universe whether the villain will run out early, or if he walks on the street, he will be killed by a sudden arrow. He is just an ordinary person. He never wanted to pin his hopes on others. The sooner the fan value arrives, the safer he feels, so he decided to plan the future with Uncle Andy. Advertisement time waits for no one. Outside the office, what do you say? The boss and the editor-in-chief said. Isn't it going to be bankrupt? Let it go. It's not easy to find this job. The employees are whispering, and they are a little uneasy about the future. They are not cartoonists in this period of economic depression and crisis. Bankruptcy means they are unemployed, and no company will hire them. Just as they were confused, with a crunch, the two walked out of the office, and it was Andy who spoke first. The veteran, he calmed the anxiety of the employees in a few words, and even raised the manuscript to prove that there were still people submitting it. Andy did not say that the author of the drawing was the boss, otherwise they would be even more irritable. Driz, no, Sue Mo, I'll call you your Hyuxia name. Don't forget to go to school. University is very rich. Andy took Sue Mo to the elevator. He said meaningful words and patted Sue Mo on the shoulder. Ding! Sue Mo's face turned dark, and he walked into the elevator. His mind flashed, and he said calmly with interest, by the way, Uncle Andy, the company name has also changed. Unexpectedly, Andy didn't expect this to happen, and asked in confusion, what? The name Tengman was named after Sue Mo's father, and it has a strong oriental fate. Marvel Comics. As soon as the voice fell, the elevator closed the door and slowly descended. Only Andy was left in a daze. Marvel Comics. This is Western nomenclature. He always felt that there was a deeper meaning. Chapter 4. Walking out of the building where Tengman is located, no, it should be the building that will belong to Marvel Comics in the future. Sue Mo looked up at the sun and said with great pride, the future will belong to Marvel. Well, it's a bit convoluted. Hiss. The eyes are so hot and dazzling. Sue Mo hurriedly lowered his head and rubbed his eyes, pretending to fail directly. Near noon, the traffic on the street became more crowded. Sue Mo walked towards a restaurant. The scorching heat of summer made pedestrians sweat profusely. Welcome. The waiter at the entrance of the restaurant bends down slightly and shouts politely with a smile on his face. Sue Mo chose a location close to the glass wall, where you can see hurried pedestrians. There are elderly, young people, and children. Then I think that someday in the future, this place will become the focus. I don't know if they are happy or sad. Sir, this is the menu. The Cheongsam waitress said with a smile when he brought the menu. Sue Mo picked up the menu and ordered a few dishes at will. This is a Hyuxia restaurant, and the taste of his hometown still suits his taste. Suction flow. Cuckoo. While Sue Mo was eating delicious food, he heard a hungry sound. He looked up and saw a loli wearing a purple dress standing outside the glass wall. At this moment, her big blinking eyes stared at the food on the table, the corners of her mouth were one by one, and her pink tongue licked outside. Cuckoo. Another sound came from Loli's belly. Sue Mo was stunned. He was so hungry that he could make a sound directly penetrating through the glass. He was a god. Lori stared at the meal behind the glass without evading her gaze by Sue Mo, revealing her extremely eager gaze. Come in. Sue Mo waved to her and smiled. Perhaps because she was too hungry, little Lolita was not afraid to turn around and leave, but actually walked in and came to the table. Eat it. The waiter will have another one. Sue Mo discovered that little Lolita had a temperament like a eldest lady, but she still revealed a bit of timidity, and her face was neat and clean. She wondered whose daughter had run away from home. Suction flow. Little Lolita immediately gobbled up. It seemed that she had been hungry for a long time. Sue Mo kindly said after seeing it, advertisement, what's your name? Where do you live? Go home after eating. Golly. Julie opened her mouth and said, the food in front of her fascinated her. She had never eaten such a delicious food. If it contains high energy, she is not as picky as her father. It didn't take long for Su Mo to take a deep breath, and after serving 3 dishes, they all fell into Jiali's stomach, but she still ate them again. You must know that these dishes are almost all meat, which is a bottomless pit. She seemed to feel Su Mo's strangeness. Gali put down the bowl as soon as her movements were stagnant, and bowed her head in embarrassment weakly. I'm full. No, your eyes are shining and you are not full. Let's finish eating. Thanks. Jiali was overjoyed when she heard the words, and stared at Su Mo blankly, making him speechless. He is not a charity, and it is impossible to invite people to dinner for free forever. Okay, go back now. Su Mo rubbed Jiali's head as he got up, and walked out calmly. Jiali also got up slowly, her eyes flickering as she followed Su Mo's back. Walking out of the street, Su Mo was going to return to his residence to finish the first season of One Punch Man, but he felt that the little worm behind him was following. There was really no way. Su Mo turned around and bent down slightly, and asked helplessly, Gali, where are your parents? There was really no way. Su Mo turned around and bent down slightly, and asked helplessly, Gali, where are your parents? I don't have a mother, I only have a father, but he is not here. Gali was a little embarrassed by his question this time around, and quickly explained. This kid. When Su Mo heard it, it turned out that Jiali's mother had already passed away, so she guessed that she might be separated from her father. Yeah, this is glued on. Just as Su Mo stroked his forehead, Jiali raised his head firmly and said, I have no family on earth anymore, okay if I follow you. As soon as this was said, the scene fell into silence. The passing pedestrians were still noisy, but the two people were in completely different places. Does the earth have no family? Is it dead? Su Mo's face began to change. He looked at Jiali with sympathy and pity, and said in secret, no wonder you are hungry like this. I'm afraid his father hasn't left a lot of inheritance not long after he died. At this moment, he saw Gali squinting at his back, and quickly turned his head to look at her eyes wide. Hey! Advertisement. A heavy truck suddenly rushed out from the crossroads of the street, and the trailing carriage directly flicked its tail on the car next to it. The wheels rubbed against the ground and made a harsh sound. A little spark splashed from it, causing pedestrians around to scream and flee. The heavy truck drove very fast, and within a few seconds, it rammed the street and rushed in the direction of Su Mo Cao. Su Mo cursed secretly, and it was indeed true that such an incident happened on the first day of Marvel. Apart from anything else, he pulled up Gali's little white hand and started running wildly. As soon as Su Mo pulled Jiali up, an unnoticeable wave of ordinary people suddenly burst out of Jiali's body, and then the world escaped into black and white. Everything lost its brilliance, everything was stopped including Su Mo, and the only one who could act was little Lolita. A purple light flashed in her eyes. Hey! Time recovered, and there was a scream of tingling scalp in reality. A horrifying scene happened under the eyes of everyone present, and saw that the heavy truck that had been running wildly started to drift in place and rotated 360 degrees. This apparently inconsistent with the logic of the incident appeared in front of them. Could it be that the driver has controlled it? Pedestrians fled around, not wanting to give their lives to others. The same is true for Su Mo. He took Jiali directly and walked in the other direction. It didn't take long to stop a taxi and drove home. On the way, Su Mo was shocked and horrified for a few seconds. It was the first time that he faced horror. You must know that he was just a 3 good citizen in his previous life. The first time he was hit by a drifting car, it was only a few seconds before he was hit to death. I must be frightened, but the thought that this was the Marvel Universe, the villain hadn't appeared before he was frightened. What a shame to the traveler. He is just an ordinary person now. Only a lottery can give him confidence, otherwise this day is not for people. Su Mo, with a wry smile, realized that he was still holding Jiali's little hand and let go. Now, how? Galila pulled his sleeve, looking at him hopefully. All right. With a mess of his mind, Su Mo agreed in a daze, not knowing what it was for. Perhaps it is better to have a companion than a person after a disaster. Chapter 5. Not bad anymore. Back in the independent building, Su Mo began to calm down and sat face to face on the sofa with Jiali, staring with small eyes. Since Jiali is going to live, the relevant certificate is called Su Mo Hyuxia, an American mixed blood, you still remember to go through it. Su Mo considers that Jiali is a minor now, and the guardian needs to change everything, otherwise it makes people suspect that he abducted Loli and a Loli came back. They didn't know each other a moment ago. Yet. Jiali nodded awkwardly, then looked around, her cute face swaying back and forth. Su Mo, looked at the little head of the lovely Jiali, who nodded deeply, and deeply doubted to be content with your previous residence. I need some information. Su Mo felt that the world is impermanent. Just after eating a meal, he picked up a pile of documents, pointed and handed them to Su Mo, and said with a silly smile, "Here, we are going to live together now." Could it be that he is a pervert? Lalakan? Is there a plan? Well, now I'm your guardian, I have to listen to whether myself made such a decision because of being cute. Hearing the words, Jiali directly drew from behind and responded with a serious voice. Su Mo turned on the TV, and it happened to report the crash of a heavy truck. Supervisor Su Mo looked through it and didn't know what to say. He carried the information with him, and felt that there was something wrong with him, but he didn't have a clue. After that, Jiali was allowed to watch TV alone, and he walked back to the study to know if he himself. In the face of Su Mo's righteous and solemn remarks, Jiali also One Punch Man is strictly a short and medium comic, not as long as the Sea of Dead Fire, and has been able to reveal the general world control from the unfinished length and directly restore what happened at that time. Everything. Zosi, you want to tell the whole story about an ordinary man named Saitama who happened to meet a crab man who wants a child whose chin is a butt, and tried his best to defeat the weirdo, and then lost through exercise and began to draw the manuscript. At the same time, he gained the strongest strength. After that is Saitama's life against evil forces and weirdos after joining the Heroes Association. Advertisement. Su Mo first planned to paint at once. After the content of the first season of the anime is released, and then divided from it, Uncle Andy is going to publish the 4 words first and put it on Jump as the first weekly magazine to try the response. He thinks the same way. After the hair is cut off, he decides to draw a long comic, double open or more open. The slight rubbing sound of pen and paper came from the study, and ordinary people couldn't hear it at all. Her voice hiding in Su Mo was heard very clearly by Jiali. The delicate ears trembled for a moment, and they were instantly cute like a rabbit, but it was a pity that Su Mo didn't see the fight otherwise. No, it should be crushed. Hey. The dazed Jiali has no interest in TV, and she is a little curious about what Su Mo is doing. She will feel inexplicable when she walks into the study without making a half sound, like she wants to laugh a little. Behind him, his eyes lit up and he kept watching Su Mo's drawings. Now Su Mo is drawing a deep Poseidon chapter. The fear between the undocumented knight and the deep Poseidon will make people overwhelming. Maybe. It is vividly portrayed on the drawing. Maybe. It is vividly portrayed on the drawing. In fact, if he hadn't been touched by watching anime earlier, Marvel also has ordinary heroes, and the Punisher and Daredevil are among them. Deep Poseidon's burly size and the undocumented knight's thinness form a contrast between the world and the earth. Without the dedication of a CEO, the fear of heroes for money, fame, momentum, and interest is completely different. This if the undocumented knight is in this Marvel universe, there is still a place. Even if he is weak, he has to work so hard, not afraid of death? Garli said timidly. She couldn't understand that such a weak and undocumented roar and heroism were exactly the same as Captain Steve. The others didn't realize Garli was peeking, and it took a long time to paint. After all, the presence is still detectable. Because it shaped his personal charm. Su Mo, why didn't he give the answer? Because the answer is in the comics, he only tells the complexity of human beings. Humanity. Advertisement. Why does the Gari throw a fist? Su Mo's eyes at the beginning, as an alien, she didn't understand that human beings are just food in the eyes of her father, and she didn't pretend to learn from her father. Just because she thinks people are human. Su Mo is interesting. Actually, it has been more than half a month since he came to the earth. The creatures here are cruel and kind, ruthless and friendly, and extremely contradictory. She wanted to see this creature again, ignorantly looking at Su Mo. You are young. Su Mo smiled and touched Lolita's little head. He didn't explain, it's not good for children to know the world of adults too early. Su Mo knows very well. As soon as Jiali's face freezes, she must know that she is getting older, but she was even said to be young by a terrible person. Seeing that there is something to eat, cuckoo. Just forget it. Jiali thought secretly, humming quietly, and glanced aside to express her dissatisfaction. This little Nazai will still be arrogant. Garli sat down awkwardly, tightening her stomach in an attempt to smile, but she didn't know that she walked around the ghost door. The two spent an afternoon in the study under the sound of the TV. Still screaming non-stop. Let's go, go out. Su Mo turned his head to look at Jiali's stomach, and said silently, Golly, are you hungry again? Humph. I calm down, but... Chapter 6. The picture above shows Ganada, the daughter of Galactus, whose name is Jiali on Earth. A high school in Queens, New York in the scorching summer, sweaty students walked out of the school gate in groups, greeted each other laughingly. A high-end silver-grey car parked at the entrance of the college, and the students passing by all showed envy. They know whose car it is. Peter, go to my house and sit down. Two people walking together came out of the door. No, Harry, I have to go back. Peter Parker waved his hand and paused, I'm going to the research institute tomorrow. There are so many scientific discoveries that are really exciting. Peter Parker, a nerd, is very interested in some scientific research. He thinks it is because he was deeply influenced by his parents when he was young. Well, then forget it. Harry Osborn caught a glimpse of the red-haired girl, whose graceful and bold figure stimulated the hormones around her. She was Mary Jane. Harry dealt with it casually, placing his heart on the woman. Hey, Harry, that's Su Mo. When Peter was about to go back, he found the young man in casual clothes, beckoning and shouting on a whim. Although Su Mo is one grade higher than them and is now a college student, the three of them are very good partners. Su Mo approached and said with a smile, you two are really younger than me now. Hey, Su Mo is fine, and the sorrows change smoothly. Harry still slapped Su Mo's shoulder with his fist, making Peter smile knowingly. They knew soon after Su Mo's parents were in the air crash. They hadn't seen people for a whole week and now they saw that they were full of energy, and their spirited attitude as friends also fell to their hearts. Su Mo heard the words and said thoughtfully, I'm afraid Grand Prince Harry thinks he is a beautiful woman. He glanced at Mary, which made Harry a little embarrassed. The introverted Peter actually liked Mary Jane and didn't dare to speak out. Su Mo saw it all. To be honest, Mary was not suitable for Peter. Su Mo took Jiali out for a meal near the evening and let her go back on his own, while he came to the previous high school. Peter asked, why are you back? After Su Mo explained, it became clear why. Su Mo studied at Queen's University before, and now his house and company are in Manhattan, so he came to do the transfer procedures this time, just passing high school. Advertisement. Harry asked, I heard that you inherited a comic company? This is not a good business. Harry, as the eldest master of the Osborn Group and the future head, is now initially involved in group affairs. The comic industry is becoming increasingly stable, and it is well known that the lack of vitality and competitiveness is like a stagnant pool. It's hard to say, I will release my own comics tomorrow, wait and see. The three chatted at the school gate for a while, and Peter and Harry were surprised that Su Mo even knew how to comics and said they would buy support. At sunset, the setting sun gradually faded to the horizon. Su Mo walked slowly towards the residence but found the girl in the purple dress squatting outside the restaurant. Her face suddenly turned black, and she walked over and squeezed it directly. Oh! Jiali was drooling over the food in the restaurant, but was directly picked up by someone. She immediately turned her head and flashed purple light, trying to kill the disrespectful person directly. Unexpectedly, seeing a gloomy face, Jiali's purple light suddenly dissipated, her blinking eyes were full of tears, and she started to cry, Su Mo, I was so hungry, I had to run out. Su Mo was unmoved when he heard the words, and sneered. Su Mo was unmoved when he heard the words, and sneered, hungry? You just ate 2 servings at 4 and are still hungry. It's not 6 o'clock now. Are you a pig? I'm not a pig. I'm not even a low-level creature. As soon as Garli heard it, her hair was blown up, and the dead duck's mouth screamed, don't believe it, listen to it. Listen to what? Su Mo didn't believe it at all, he was talking, and at this moment, the sound of Coco came from Jiali's belly. You really are a pig. I am not, this is normal. Why would I not? No one else would, why would you? Who said that? So will my father. Well, you father and daughter are both. Humph, I hope my father won't pee his pants when he comes. Hey! Advertisement. Su Mo and Jiali were arguing outside the restaurant, completely uncomfortable. Her father had died a long time ago and turned into a ghost to come to him. When Jiali saw this, she didn't use force to convince Sumo to roll around all over her to get something to eat. Got it, take it back to an uncle. Sumo thought that Jiali was a good girl at first. He didn't expect to be so naughty. She could make things out of her meals. 5 meals a day, 3 servings per meal. He directly carried Jiali, who was like a hamster, and squeezed his round fleshy face for a while before taking Jiali into the restaurant. Fortunately, he is rich. 1 hour later, Jiali followed Sumo dejectedly and went out to the restaurant, muttering to herself, "I'm not full." Sumo walked in front and listened to Jiali's dissatisfaction without saying a word, secretly said, "I can really eat, is Jiali sick?" No one in Sumo knew that such a person had ever existed. Boom! 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 Suddenly, continuous violent gunfire exploded. At this time, Sumo shuddered and heard his reputation from a small alley not far away. At the same time, accompanied by a dazzling fire snake spouting from the muzzle, it suddenly broke the original comfortable atmosphere. He directly grabbed Jiali's wrist and strode towards home. As an ordinary person, he didn't want to take a peek because of curiosity at this time. This was just killing him. As long as the comics are published tomorrow, everything will change. Not long after Sumo left, the gunfire gradually stopped, and the alleys at dusk were filled with the pungent smell of gunpowder smoke, with large and small bullet craters all around. A girl with purple hair in tights and short skirts emerged from the darkness, with a black mask covering her face, and whispered, "Big old man, it seems someone has found it." "It's okay, he is very smart." The middle-aged man in black uniform was groping on the body of the gangster and sneered without turning his head. After rummaging for a while, he didn't find the big old man he wanted and became angry and swearing. "Frank, this damn fellow does nothing, skit, the clue is broken again." At this moment, the sirens sounded, and the two hurriedly vanished the traces and turned into ghosts in the dark, disappearing into the shadows. Chapter 7. In the early morning, the sun was shining brightly, warm and comfortable sunlight fell on the high school yard. "Harry, I bought a comic with Sumo on the Junior Jump, which looks like a superhero theme." Peter raised the comic magazine in his hand to Harry, who was sitting aside. Harry was immersed in how to ask Mary Jane to be interrupted by the idiot, glanced at the cover of the comic in his hand, and the corners of his mouth twitched. "Bald. I don't know why, I haven't read it yet." Peter scratched his head depressed. It can be said that most of the comics that are superheroes these years are in line with Captain Steve America, especially the early comics look exactly the same but the name has changed. The appearance like a bald head is a clear stream in the comics. After reading it, "Show it to me." I asked the butler to buy it in the morning at home. Peter nodded silently when he heard the words, and could not wait to open the comic magazine. At the same time, he also noticed that Sumo's company is now called Marvel Comics. Peter had to be curious about what ghost he would draw. Others didn't know. How could he and Harry not know that Sumo didn't have the ability to paint at all? But when he opened the comics, he was stunned, wearing red gloves with both fists, wearing a beige tights, and a flowing white cloak behind him, facing the camera, in a ruin, billowing black smoke. Cruel. What surprised Peter was that there was still a vague monster beside him, and the exquisite painting made him a little excited. There is a kind of hacky who is no enemy in the world. Awesome, super handsome. Sumo asked someone to paint on his behalf. Peter couldn't help exclaiming, and began to think how Sumo could paint such a good picture. At the same time, I think this bald man in a cape should be the protagonist of the comics, a superhero. Then I looked back carefully and found that the city was ruined in the beginning, and it looked devastated. I guess it might be flashback. The first appearance of the bald head with the character's execution of justice made him feel that he should be a very powerful superhero. Anxious Peter continued to watch, and finally the protagonist's positive appearance appeared, and he almost wanted to tear up the comic magazine. Special, what's the drawing? Eyebrows. What is the emoji? 2 salted egg eyes, a few lines and a circle make a face. Can a person grow like this? Advertisement. Peter's face was dull at the time, and he suspected that this was Sumo's true level. The first few pages must have been drawn. With his brows frowning, he didn't know what to say and turned back, and it was full of horrible things. He was too lazy to complain about the formation of the vaccine man, and the protagonist's interest alone made him frustrated. Even if Uncle Ben is not dead, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Peter hasn't heard yet, but the heroism and dedication that the world has instilled for a long time is deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. The protagonist's values are the opposite of most Americans. Peter is depressed whether Su-mo is of Hyuxia descent to do this, otherwise, why would he think so? Finally, the two are about to start fighting, and the superhero themes are the highlight of the fight. Among them, the endless superpower will feast the reader's eyes. The vaccine man's figure became huge after a roar, with sharp giant teeth and surging aura through the paper, and Peter seemed to be on the scene. He couldn't help worrying about whether the protagonist could deal with such a powerful monster. To be honest, it is rare for such a vicious monster to appear in related comics. This hideous appearance can be regarded as the last big booze in some comics. Then slowly turn to the next page. The exciting moment was about to come. Peter's eyes opened wider and wider, and he thought, what kind of superpower does Saitama have? Hiss. What? Peter's expression and Andy's editor-in-chief were like withdrawing, and even the loud screams caused Harry to jump with a horror, and the surrounding classmates also turned to Peter. Peter's expression and Andy's editor-in-chief were like withdrawing, and even the loud screams caused Harry to jump with a horror, and the surrounding students also turned to Peter. What is the name of the ghost? At the same time they also noticed the comic magazine in Peter's hands. The usual introverted Peter must have calmed down immediately, showing an awkward but polite smile, or showing no self-confidence. However, the current Peter simply ignores the strange gaze from the outside world, and puts his heart and soul on the plot of the comic. What did he see? I saw the protagonist Saitama slammed a punch, and it only took a page or a big shot to directly penetrate the body of the vaccine man. Oh! God, what is he looking at? Is this April Fool's Day? Is this painting not serious? Peter likes superhero comics very much. He has read countless books. The summary is that the heroes gradually become stronger in the process of fighting the bad guys. Every time they are evenly matched, slightly disadvantaged, brutally abused, and exploded against the killing. Develop. This is still true in current comics. Peter was now directly shocked by Saitama's punch. It was as if the big booze came on the stage and then he was punched to death by a group of people. Advertisement. He felt heartache, why the plot developed like this, but he just couldn't stop. In order to start One Punch Man and to rectify the juvenile jump, Andy directly put the contents of the 4 episodes. In the second episode, Peter finally knows how Saitama became a hero, and also knows what Saitama's interest dictates. He doesn't know which interest or dedication is better, he only knows that this comic is very good looking. When turning over the 4th chapter, he saw the appearance of the Underworld King and Saitama fought back and forth, a punch was directly invalidated here, and Saitama's rival appeared. Peter looked forward to the 5th episode very much, seeing how the Underworld King and Saitama turned out, and closing the manga was full of excitement and excitement. Just 4 words, the meaning is still unfinished. Whether it is the plot or the painting skills, Peter is deeply attracted by the charm. Saitama's power is different from other coquettish splatters. He does not have superpower, is either upgraded, or has a powerful body. So where does this power come from? As the saying goes, fantasy depends on reality. Many superpowers in the comics are based on mutants. The most famous is Magneto, who assassinated the president. Now it can be said that he is a household name, and he is featured in many cartoons. Of course it is the opposite role. Peter was tickled in his heart, desperately wanting to know the answer, and turned up the cartoon again to search for a clue. Peter. The gloomy sound in his ears brought Peter back to reality. He looked up and saw that Harry was staring at him tightly, and his classmates surrounded him. Harry snatched the comic magazine and snorted, "It's me. Peter, your cartoon has been requisitioned." The students around him spoke bluntly, and they were also curious that Peter, who had always been shy, was taken aback, not knowing what the convergent comic was. Peter petrified on the spot. This scene is happening everywhere in the United States. Chapter 8. There are cartoonists and readers, and naturally there are cartoon critics. Edward is a well-known comics critic. He reads a large number of comics every day and makes comments. Just like the superhero Darkstream a few days ago, his mouth and hands were sprayed to a close. As a professional critic, the subject of superheroes is unfamiliar. He can guess what routines and templates are at a glance. Nowadays, ordinary comics are much lazy to look at, and only very innovative comics will pay attention to it. Now he is wandering around in major bookstores, and comic magazines will enter the bookstores. This is the first-hand information, and even the bookstore manager who feels good after reading it will be in a conspicuous position. It's a pity that even visiting the two bookstores didn't have any novel comics that attracted his attention. To tell the truth, he would rather go to the official serialized comic of Captain America, which is still being updated, and it is also a god. Shaking his head, Edward was about to go back home and passing by an acquaintance bookstore. The manager immediately greeted him. "Edward is here." "Yo, what do you call me?" Edward walked in and spoke with a bit of insight. "Is it another good comic?" He knew that the store manager had the same taste as him, and he discovered that many good comics were recommended to him by the store manager. He is simply a god teammate who digs money out of the sand. The store manager pulled out a comic magazine from the previous display stand, shook it in front of Edward, and said with a smile, "That's it, why don't I tell you what, it's this one. Juvenile Jump? Never heard of it." Edward took it, and the strange issue did not exist in his memory. The publishing company used to be called Tang Man, not very well known. Now the magazine issue has been renamed Juvenile Jump, and even the company has changed its name to Marvel Comics. And I also heard people say that this company is now controlled by young people. Hwa, so strong. Edward was surprised for a while. The ability to change his name and name is not a simple figure, which means that if he fails, he will be pulled out for repromotion, and the impact on credibility is very large. The store manager smiled and praised, "Yes, but his cartoon is very good." At the same time, he pointed his finger at the cover of the comic. Edward heard the words and noticed that the cover is very exquisite, and the painting alone is of the level of the pyramids in the United States. Advertisement above the cover character is painted with a red vocabulary, One Punch Man. What kind of superhero is this? With this idea, Edward was gradually conquered by the comics, and unknowingly, he finished the comics at the door of the bookstore. "It's so cool!" Edward praised from the bottom of his heart. The store manager said unceremoniously, "Yes, and pay quickly." Edward came to his senses and paid the money, and the story of a punch flashed in his mind on the way home. "The more I think about it, the more I feel that this comic should be the biggest dark horse of this year and the strongest comic that deserves it. What makes the scalp numb is the setting that overturns the definition of the traditional hero concept, which is completely overthrowing the concept of the reality of the US captain, holding his taste tightly, and can't help but admire this author." Turning to the front title page, the author's name surprised him. Su Mo Oriental name, or pen name? Or the real name? Oriental name, or pen name? Or the real name? Edward, who is used to seeing the fall of Shenton Comics, cannot be 100% sure whether this comic will collapse in the future. But just these 4 words made him feel that all the comics in the past are like Xiang, and there are definitely bigger plot surprises waiting for him. Thinking of this, he rushed home with excitement, turned on the computer, clicked on Twitter, and quickly tapped the keyboard. The fans who followed Edward received the message, and the message inspired them. Solemnly recommend One Punch Man, the latest serialized comic of Shonen Jump, a comic that shapes a new hero concept and breaks the stagnant market. Let's revel, hero fans. Narrator, it doesn't look good, I eat Xiang. I'm CAO. Fans were stunned when they saw it. Edward, who is famous for being a bitter mouth, recommended a comic like this for the first time, and even Xiang would bet it out. Some netizens passing by are all excited. Even if they want to watch celebrities, they still have to read this comic. Immediately afterwards, the message scrolled like a screen. Advertisement, hey? Didn't Edward say that he was desperate for superhero comics a few days ago? This one is different. I was just blown up by my classmate Amway. It can't be said, it's definitely a work of a classic style. Yes, this painter has gone to heaven. The subject matter is really scary. No, how do I feel that you are a navy? Hehe, you'll know after reading it. Finally, there is a manga that I highly recommend. I'm going downstairs to buy it now and see how you guys play it. I bought it early. Why is there only one issue with such a number? It's not enough to watch at all. Indeed, as a magazine, it is really rare to serialize only one work. Fortunately, the price is low, otherwise it will be irritated. How strong is the Underworld King? Saitama is in trouble now, so I look forward to the next episode. For a time, Edward tweeted a frenzy of discussion about punches, and the popularity index continued to rise. Whether it was the accidental young jump or the fans who were recommended to Amway, they all posted their comments on Edward's Twitter, completely treating it as a forum for One Punch Man. In the process of rising popularity, new fans continue to come in, and I can't wait to know the charm of the recommended comics. People who don't know why are like tickling, and they all rush into the local bookstore or newsstand to start a panic buying frenzy. Just after noon, a long line of people's heads lined up outside bookstores and newsstands all over the world, all of which came to buy Juvenile Jump. Obviously, it is impossible for a bookstore to purchase so many goods. After the sale, they looked depressed and looked at the people who could not buy it. They shouted in their hearts, "This is all money. Damn it, why is this suddenly hot?" I thought that many of the staff here would have known to keep a copy for themselves, and see what kind of magic is making people so crazy. This is the case in bookstores across the United States, and One Punch Man's comics have swept the country by storm. Like a shock bomb dropped on the calm lake, the unimaginable waves are surging. Chapter 9. People who don't live in this world will never know what the manga longing for in this world's fans. Since the American Captain America published Captain America, which became popular among the people, many cartoonists have imitated it and formed an endless wave. Up to now, the comics market has become deformed. Books or routines and templates are filled with similar plots. Excellent comics are pitifully rare. There were predecessors who wanted to separate the line from superheroes but didn't expect to rush to death in the deserted market, sweeping into the cusp of history. Everyone has to look to the money. Since the risk is so great, of course, the cartoonists who want to try it withdraw their feet and eat their money. It is against this background that readers are vomiting when they look at traditional heroes. As long as they read comics that were okay in the past, they will buy them. They just want to see if there are any new ideas, and they urgently need new comics to fill their annoying heart. But the result did not go as they wanted. On the contrary, this idea led to a drastic reduction in innovation. Some thick-skinned cartoonists seized the fluke of readers. Directly change the name of the manga, superpower, and place name in the previous comic, without changing the plot, it will be published as a new comic, defrauding readers of money. For example, 2 works by the same cartoonist. A protagonist, I think I was able to penetrate walls when I was in New York. B protagonist, I think I got the fire ability when I was in Washington. A protagonist, my good friend has disappeared. Protagonist B, my good friend has also disappeared. A protagonist, I was forced to embark on the road of heroism. Protagonist B, me too. A protagonist, my girlfriend asked me to dance, but I broke my promise. Protagonist B, me too, but I made an appointment to watch a movie. A protagonist, I never kill people when I fight criminals, but they always run out of prison. Protagonist B, me too. A protagonist, just as the earth was being destroyed, I fought to stand in front, and finally I died. Protagonist B, me too. Advertisement. There are not a few people like this in the comics market, they are just like the work of the American team, and just when they are desperate to give up the entertainment spirit of comics. One Punch Man was born. He is not the work of a big-name cartoonist, nor is it a template of routines. Even the publishing company changed its name. The person in charge has heard that it is a young man. The only 4 words with only the painting style and the setting of reshaping the 3 views make the fans fall into a carnival. Just like drugs, the more the product, the more flavorful it is, making fans feel that the comics of the past are simply tasteless, and it is not a pity to give up a bit. The comics industry is like a stagnant water. Without any vitality, it was completely stirred this afternoon, and the entire industry was shocked. Marvel Comics. Hello, yes, this is Marvel. What? You also want 1,000 copies? I'm really sorry that we are out of stock too, we are printing it, and we will notify you as soon as it arrives. At this time, the office area was very hot, full of telephone ringing and answering sounds, and only 7 employees and the editor-in-chief Andy were busy. The new issue of Juvenile Jump has been printed to 50,000 copies. In the end, Andy even got a few temporary workers to answer the phone, and went to the printing factory to ask them to work overtime to print. Everything was normal when it was released in the morning, but after noon, the phone was ringing non-stop as if it was doping. As an old man in the company, Andy was extremely excited, his face flushed, and danced on the way to the printing factory, letting pedestrians point and point. As an old man in the company, Andy was extremely excited, his face flushed, and danced on the way to the printing factory, letting pedestrians point and point. But Andy remained unmoved and still went his own way. Today is the first day of the release of One Punch Man comics, and the number of direct prints reached 55,000 copies even after the afternoon. This is definitely the first time the company was founded. Andy knows better that such a rate of bursting for 24 hours, that is, 100,000 copies after the first day is not a problem at all, and 200,000 copies can be touched even if it is strong. And such a record is completely the strength of the phenomenon-level comics published and distributed by the American team, and this crazy buying craze has never erupted again for decades. There is no doubt that Sumo's comics can become the backbone of the industry and the American team as long as it does not collapse afterwards, even if it is slower. The New York Times and other media have invested in this uninterested comic market, and they are keenly aware that this is a reshuffle. Sumo didn't know that his cartoons would be so popular that they would even attract the attention of the relevant media. After breakfast, he and Jiali continued to test One Punch in the study. At the same time, he is also waiting for the fans' value. With the passage of time, the fan value slowly increased from 0 and then began to explode at noon. Looking at the ever-changing numbers, Sumo directly smiled and became ecstatic. Advertisement: you must know that these fan points are all consumables in the lottery, and the things drawn are the basis for his foothold in the Marvel Universe. Just as Sumo was happy, Jiali looked at him caring for the idiot. The phone rang suddenly. Sumo put down the paintbrush gently and connected the phone. Sumo, you are so good, your father is not as good as you. One Punch Man is completely popular, and the Twitter rating index has been in the top 5. At present, the printing has reached 55,000 copies, and the accurate data must be calculated after 0 o'clock. Do you know how the industry is described? A pillar that stands side by side with the American team. Sumo answered the phone, and Uncle Andy's crackling shout came, and he wanted to share it with him. When Sumo heard the last sentence, he raised his brows and blandly scolded, "Uncle Andy, calm down, it's a feat. Even if One Punch is so fierce, he is a short and medium comic, and even the original author one is not very much changed, and it is supported by the second author. It is really incomparable with Beauty Team, especially after he enters many comics in the future. The popularity of One Punch will be reduced, and there will be people who will specifically challenge him at that time. He took many factors to become popular, but he still couldn't change the illogical and arbitrary setting. Weaknesses will be exposed at that time. Success will be killed with a punch, and defeat will be killed by a punch. The necessary passage of classic comics is lost. After all, One Punch Man can indeed be called a phenomenon-level comic that is the focus of discussion for a period of time, but it will not become a classic comic that will still be popular decades later. There are many phenomenon-level comics, but there are very few that will always remain in people's minds as a classic. To become a rival against American team can only be defeated based on the classics. One Punch is just a pioneer. You are right, I take it for granted. Andy was immediately awakened from complacency by Sumo's reminder. Others didn't know the world after a punch, but he passed Sumo early. Today's One Punch Man is just carrying the momentum to stir the stagnant water to set off a wave. In fact, when this wave is over and other comics take over, One Punch Man will begin to regain its status. Those who preach One Punch are mostly fans who lose their minds and grasp the life and death straws of superhero themes. They will wake up after the wave and will face this comic. At that time, the new comics began to really roll over the entire comics world. Chapter 10. Sumo, now a punch is very hot, and the juvenile jump has also entered the field of comics. We need new comics to enrich the iron while the iron is hot. Andy said truthfully on the phone. No comic magazine is supported by a comic book, otherwise it would be better to directly issue a single book. Well, this time I drew 2 cartoons. Uncle Andy also adjusted the layout to make One Punch smaller. It's not long. After Sumo pondered, he said flatly. As soon as Andy's voice became higher, he immediately worried, 2 copies? Will you be too tired? Take your time and don't worry. Cartoonists generally work slowly and meticulously, with an average level of 1 sentence a week, like Sumo's 3 open, and at the same time, the speed of more than 1 sentence in each movie will die. Relax, uncle, do you think I am such a desperate person? Sumo owns a system artifact, and it won't take long to draw a sentence based on the basic painter in his previous life and the phantom outline. Besides, I have to build my own comic empire. Listening to Sumo's arrogant voice, Andy smiled knowingly. He didn't think it was arrogant, it was indeed possible to do it. Sumo repeatedly asked Andy to take care of his body. After painting, he personally came to pick up the sound, shook his head and hung up the phone. The hamster Jiali lying on the sofa next to him has a bulging mouth and keeps chewing snacks. This is also his new discovery. As long as Jiali does not stop his mouth, he will not make a cooing sound, so by a lot snacks are better filled. Garli looked at him with joy and looked forward to asking, Su Mo has new comics? Really? Jiali also likes to read comics very much, although the people in the comics are not as strong as her father, but the story and personal charm deeply attracted her. The comics are still a bit interesting. Advertisement Su Mo responded and called out the system interface secretly, and started typing a few names in the search bar, but they were deleted after a while. The reason was that he noticed that his current fan value had reached 200,000 points and he kept scrolling up, but he knew that he would start to slow down later. One punch is a shocking bullet and a trend-setting front wave. Fans are counted once after watching it. After the calculation, the second time will not be calculated until the next month. A comic magazine generally serializes 10 to 20 different comics, and most of them have one story in each comic. Su Mo could have published more than a dozen books next week and put them on Jump slowly, but by doing so, the influence of these comics will undoubtedly be greatly reduced. The dazzling comics will only be seen in front of the fans. He needs each comic to be fermented, and each comic becomes the focus of discussion in the industry. Only in this way can the fan value provided by the comics be the most profitable. Otherwise, the neglected comics will not taste good and will be regarded as bad, and the fan value will be reduced accordingly. Otherwise, the neglected comics will not taste good and will be regarded as bad, and the fan value will be reduced accordingly. Therefore, the current juvenile Jump is not suitable for a large number of serializations. It needs to be put up slowly, and 2 new comics are just suitable. The only difficulty now is to choose which manga is good, and what kind of manga can challenge the American team. There are only classics, such as Naruto, Dragon Ball, etc., but these pages are too long and slow to heat up. I am afraid that Marvel will be restless before it ferments. There is also a landmark EVA that is not suitable for the current United States. Although there is a shadow of the Bible in it, the connotation of the times may not be directly exploded, and it needs to be condensed. From Andy's point of view, as long as the fire is on, Su Mo knows that Marvel is dangerous. What he needs is to explode the comics market quickly and throw a series of deep-sea bombs into it. Why is One Punch Man popular? Advertisement. It's not because he overthrew the current definition of superhero, shocked the people's 3 views, attracted the most attention, and even attracted the attention of the media. Its fire is the explosion point. And the comics that Su Mo is going to publish now must also challenge the 3 views of people or impact the inner resonance of the comics. This kind of comics can't be a long story, can't be too slow, let alone let people guess in the clouds, and will consider drawing these when he feels that he has enough self-protection ability. At the same time, the subject of superheroes is rampant, the trend of the market and the preferences of mainstream people, as well as the pressure of life. Violent cartoons are the best choice at the moment. Now we need to seize the current hot spots to stimulate, and the new comics will set off a new wave of discussions in the first 3 chapters. Whether it's blowing or spraying, as long as the focus is formed, the fan value will be credited like flowing water. Thinking of this, Su Mo flashed 2 cartoons in his mind, which were exactly in line with his vision, and hurriedly typed in the search bar. As soon as the virtual interface screen turned, Su Mo lay it flat, picked up the paintbrush and started rubbing it with the paper. It is also a short and medium comic, and the difference from One Punch is that their themes are all different. Bloody violence, thinking about human nature and girls. Hey? Su Mo, how do you draw this kind of comics? Gaily was surprised to see from the beginning to the end. You must know that One Punch is cool, and humorous. And the book being created is completely different from before. Su Mo touched Jiali's silky purple hair, and smiled deeply. Well, this is exciting enough. Chapter 11. Late at night, New York, where everything is silent, is still brightly lit. Jiali had already gone to sleep, while Su Mo was standing on the roof looking into the distance from a fire. I am afraid it was another gang fire accident. He didn't go to the university to be a student obediently. He spent a little money hanging up until graduation, and he was drawing new cartoons all afternoon. He is waiting for how many fans will be worth in the One Punch Man wave on the first day, and then there will be an exciting lottery. Ha! Su Mo glanced at the other side as if he heard a sound at this time, but saw a figure passing by in the building, what made him notice was that this person seemed to be swinging on a swing. In this posture, there is only one person in Marvel that he knows. Spider-Man, Peter Parker. He thought that Peter wanted to invite him to visit the research institute yesterday, but he did not agree. It seemed that this was the turning point in Peter's life. Unexpectedly, coming from Queens to Manhattan, I am worthy of being a good neighbor of New Yorkers. Sumo noticed that the fan value had begun to stabilize and slowed down while complaining. After a long wait, in the faint dark night, under the radiance of the moon, the system's mechanical prompt sounded. Fan value statistics have been completed, and host received a total of 280,840 fan value on the first day. Just 280,000 a day. Sumo was happy to get the flowers right away. According to his estimation, the fan expansion of One Punch will usher in a peak tomorrow and will persist for a week. By that time, it will be more than 1 million. It is detected that the host meets the lottery criteria. Do you want to start? The minimum amount of the lottery is 100,000 and 280,000 can only be drawn twice. The scope of the lottery is any property in the first 4 episodes of One Punch Man. Sumo can't calm down at all, even if he can only smoke twice now, a little random thing in the comic is very useful to him. Pump, smoke now. Please choose the quota for host. The more you consume, the more chances you will get rare items. Sumo curled his lips when he heard the words and said, understood. If there are millions of fans worth, he will definitely consume millions of points at a time. But the point is that he only has 200,000, how much better than 100,000? Now that his fan value is too small, even if it is consumed once, it is not good enough. It is better to draw twice to see if the face is dark. The time has come to witness that the African Emirates are still Europeans. Sumo nervously washes his face in the bathroom, rubs his hands, and then directly enters the 200,000 lucky draw specifications on the lottery interface. Congratulations to host for getting the ultimate cholesterol king of biceps. Advertisement Sumo looked at a test tube that suddenly appeared floating in the air, and took it. The solution flashed gold in the tube. Of course, he who painted by himself knew that this bottle of reagent was developed and created by Fokker in the 3rd chapter, and then let his brother Marugoli drink it. It just turned into a giant thousands of meters high in an instant, and it would destroy a town with one punch, a ghost-level disaster. But without Saitama's prevention, the association should be promoted to a dragon-level disaster. After all, the definition of a ghost class is a crisis that may cause the function of a town to be paralyzed or even destroyed. Obviously, the giant can easily do it. Sumo shook the test tube in his hand. Such reagents are extremely terrible, just such a little solution makes an ordinary human being such a terrifying monster, but Sumo does not intend to take it. He doesn't want to be a monster, especially the ghost-level weirdos in Marvel Universe can't eat well. Sumo, who has other choices, put the reagent on the table. Congratulations to host, get the skill of the vaccine man, light wave ball fragment x1 Hey? Skill fragments? What's the use? Sumo was stunned, and he could understand if the skills were extracted. Why did they become fragments? Shards are one of the lower awards, divided into character fragments, skill fragments, and item fragments. The usage of the 3 fragments is different. Among them, the skill fragments can be equipped, one fragment represents LV1, and multiple can be superimposed to upgrade, up to level 10. Hiss. Hiss. There is even such a choking operation. At this time, Sumo was so excited that he was full of joy. He originally thought that there were only 4 words and nothing good at all. He was even ready to draw Saitama's useless white cloak or uniform. He never expected that he won the jackpot in only 2 draws. One was drawn to the giant's potion, although I didn't want to take it, but it was also a rare item, the other was skill fragments. The full version of several light waves can destroy a city, but the vaccine man is the existence of a dragon-level disaster. Sumo couldn't help but touched his handsome face, and narrated himself, I really am European. The system seemed to be disgusted by the shameless words, and interrupted more coldly, are you ready for skill fragments? The fragments of the current ball of light were placed in the warehouse. Equipment. I saw additional blocks appear under the lottery interface, and skill modules appeared like online games. Fragments of the light ball broke through the screen from the warehouse interface and turned into a white light rushing into Sumo's brain, who had not had time to react. At the same time, a white and blue light ball icon appears in the skill module, with the words LV1 in the upper right corner. This is advertisement. Sumo only felt a hot current flooding his brain, and after a refreshing burst of light, he directly grasped the power of the ball of light. Raised his hands slightly. A stream of blue and white energy sprang from Sumo's body, quickly converging into a fist-sized ball of light, and the terrifying energy rubbed the air. Such a ball of light can completely blow up this room, and it is only a level 1 power. Staring at the ball of light above the palm of his hand, Sumo couldn't help sighing. Now, Sumo, what do you have? A sudden and pleasant lowly sounded. It was Jiali. She stood at the door of the bedroom and stared at the light ball in Sumo's hand. Nothing. Sumo scattered the light ball with one hand and smiled awkwardly. Jiali is an ordinary person, and I am afraid of his changes. Hey, what is this? It seems to be delicious. However, Jiali didn't grasp how Sumo's ball of light came from, and the thing in her eyes disappeared. On the contrary, purple light flashed in his eyes and saw the Biceps King potion on the table, and rushed over as if smelling food. With the speed of Sumo's hand, he grabbed the potion into his hand, his saliva overflowed from the corner of his mouth, and poured into his mouth without saying a word. Stop, this can't, drink. Sumo was dumbfounded when he saw this. Gali actually drank the giant's potion, piercing into his heart like a bolt from the blue sky. It's over. His mind was full of Garli's transformation into a giant, and she lay down on the ground with a bang, her face dropped to the floor, her eyes flushed. My loli is growing up. Sumo really wanted to howl to the sky, and finally picked up a loli to become a muscular giant, and she was desperate as if she fell into a bottomless abyss. Hey? Sumo, what are you doing? Now. Sumo then looked up and saw that nothing happened to Jiali, still showing a cute expression, and was immediately stunned. System, this is a fake medicine. Chapter 12. Sumo, hurry up, hurry up. Jiali hopped like a rabbit to the street. It was another beautiful morning. Sumo took Jiali out and looked at her stupidly. It's hard to resemble an alien. Last night, Jiali drank the king of biceps medicine but nothing happened. The system couldn't give fake medicines, so the real problem was Jiali. Under his face with cross brows and cold, face to face with the warm bed and sweet food that was about to be lost, Jiali had to get out of it. Why is there only half a set? Jiali only said that she was an alien, and her father was a super powerful boss. She didn't say anything else, only that she knew it was for your own good. Sumo didn't get to the bottom either, because he didn't explain to Jiali how the light wave sphere came from. Everyone has secrets, and there is no need to fully explain them. Garli's ability is to eat, the more energy-rich things, the better, so the giant potion is a rare delicacy in her eyes. This lets Sumo know that maybe Jiali is already the top powerhouse on the earth. Drinking such a vast amount of energy has no response at all, and it is completely consumed, which is really terrifying. At the same time, he was also curious about Jiali's father. He thought he had died before. Jiali should be a character in Marvel comic universe. Sumo is not strictly speaking a real Marvel fan. What he knows is only the content of the Marvel movie universe plus the X-Men movies, and he has a preliminary understanding of Marvel. The illogical settings and parallels of the comics are blocking his mountains. In his previous life, he did not have much time to learn about comics. I only know the most powerful OAA, the next point life court, and the next generation gods of the world. Hearing said, I heard that there are more powerful ones I can't remember. Even if he wanted to search the comics through the system, he couldn't find any Marvel-related information at all, but he found DC. They come, the security. Sumo sighed secretly, and then became happy. It turns out that the current trump card is not the system but Gale. At the same time, the American Morning News is displayed on the screen wall of a building in Times Square. The New York Times commented, the comic market has changed dramatically, and the popularity of One Punch Man is soaring, and its setting that overwhelms traditional heroes is amazing. Washington Post commented, the company called Marvel Comics released a new issue of the comic magazine Shonen Jump yesterday, which began to suffer from a panic buying wave. Experts on the level of craziness are expected to last for another week. The Los Angeles Times commented, the setting of One Punch Man is completely opposite to the value concept of Beauty Team, and readers are hooked. Advertisement US Review Today, a Dark Horse comic has begun to challenge the status of the American team. The messy settings have made some battlefield veterans ashamed to compare it with the American team. They called on this cartoon to undermine the American spirit and demand banned. After listening to Su Mo, he did not become irritated by the comments of the US Daily News. Instead, a smile appeared on his face. The United States even sells guns and books cursing the president. What a mere comic book that goes against the existing view of heroism. This is the free America. It is controversial, and it will let the world know that some people who have not read the comics will pick up One Punch and read it to see why it compares with American team. Invisibly fits Su Mo's mind, it's all fan value. At this moment, the host's face changed slightly when he looked directly at the camera, and he hurriedly said, "There is an emergency interruption of the latest news. The whereabouts of Tony Stark, the chairman of Stark Industries, was unknown yesterday, and the relevant departments have been involved in the investigation." As soon as the voice fell, Times Square fell into silence and immediately became noisy. Pedestrians talked about it. Stark Industries is the #1 arms dealer in the United States. The disappearance of the chairman of the board of directors will definitely cause the stock to fall sharply. There are different opinions on the situation. As soon as the picture of the building turned, what appeared was a debate about mutants, and a red-haired girl was standing on the stage to speak, revealing an elegant temperament. As soon as the picture of the building turned, what appeared was a debate about mutants. Standing on the stage was a red-haired girl speaking, revealing an elegant temperament. She is Jean Grey. Gentlemen and ladies, human mutants are only a result of human evolution. But a member of the audience directly interrupted her speech and bluntly said, "Are mutants in danger?" Then the two argued over this, and the senator's mutant threat theory was greeted with applause from the audience, and even the pedestrians in the square applauded and agreed. Recently, the problem of mutants has become more and more serious. The proposal of Congress to submit a bill on the registration of mutants has caused waves in society. In order to express their dissatisfaction, many mutants began to do evil everywhere, which aroused the extreme disgust of ordinary people. In this context, it is futile to say good things to the mutants. Su Mo raised his brow and took Garly down the street, secretly saying, "When Tony returns, the era of superheroes will truly come, and the threat posed by mutants will be insignificant at that time. What's more, it is clear in reversing the future that in fact, most of human beings are hidden in the potential X gene, and all of them are mutants." Looking at these debates the other way round is like a joke. The two stopped when they walked through an alley, and several gangsters gathered around, and their exposed skin was tattooed with unknown tattoos. Advertisement boy, it won't matter to you if you know the girl behind you, otherwise. ABD walked out, threatening with an arrogant posture. This girl looks exquisite and can be sold through gang channels for a good price. Su Mo was not as timid as the gangster thought, instead, his face was calm and he smiled. "The gangster? The first time I met. The gang trafficker's idea of hitting Jiali has no desire to survive at all." Jiali pouted her lips in disdain, but was stopped by Su Mo when she wanted to take a step forward. "It seems you have made a choice." Several bullies scanned the surroundings with fierce gazes and found that no one else had noticed here. Among them, the black bullies walked up to Su Mo like an upright black bear, showing cruel expressions from the height. The burly man raised his huge hand and swung so violently that he wanted to shoot the weak chicken directly, but at this moment, he only heard the sound of belching, his abdomen felt a little cool, and his mind lost consciousness. The gangsters next to him were wide-eyed, their hairs horrified, and their scalp numb. They only saw a flash of white light, and a big hole was directly pierced through the abdomen of the black man. The scarlet blood had long been evaporated by the light wave, and only the empty body fell to the ground. "Mutant! It's a mutant! Monster! He is a monster! Run!" The trembling voice of the gangster yelled hysterically, and they all fled to the other side. "Stop them!" "Okay." The purple light curtain stood in the alley, like an indestructible mountain, and the gangsters would have nothing to do no matter how they beat them. "When you come to Marvel, why don't you kill anyone?" Energy flowed everywhere, and several white balls gathered and floated around him. Under the dazzling light, Su Mo's face was cold and frosty. "You say yes." In the next instant, desperate wailing sounded in the alley. Seeking evaluation votes. 3 consecutive. Chapter 13. This is the new comic. Andy flipped through the thick sketches in his hand, with an inexplicable tone. "A subject that has nothing to do with superheroes, and it's so bloody, are you sure someone reads it? You know how many cartoonists have died on other subjects, and superheroes are the best to draw and the most profitable. Correct. Of course Sumo knew what Andy was thinking, and said, the two new comics are very eye-catching. Uncle, you should know that the superhero market is full. The success of a punch does not mean that this theme can still be used. Well, you are the boss and you can say anything. I'm worried that some people will say that you are exhausted. How is it possible? Actually, there is still a superhero theme in my mind, but it is not suitable for publishing right now. Sumo snorted and pointed to his head. That's good, I will print it now, and it will be published tomorrow morning. When Andy heard the words, he felt relieved and secretly said, it's good to have confidence. He paused and said, recently, Manhattan is not peaceful. I heard that the gangsters who died a few days ago were caused by mutants, and they were all leftovers. I heard that the gang behind was a big drug lord. Go out. Thank you Uncle Andy for your concern. Sumo's eyes flashed as he watched Andy go out. Today, 4 days have passed since killing the gangsters. Shonen Jump is a weekly comic magazine, tomorrow is the release date of the new issue, he couldn't help but call out the interface. The fan value has reached the beginning of 1 million. Sumo has accumulated to this day and has not drawn a lottery, for fear of drawing out Saitama's uniform. System, adjust specifications, 5 times 100,000 and 1 time 500,000. In fact, the lottery is not good strictly speaking at this time. You can wait until tomorrow for more lotteries, but Sumo still chooses to draw first. In the 3 comics, One Punch helped him a lot, and the possessions in the other 2 comics were not very useful. The content of the lottery is the published comic content. Before, there were only 4 episodes with a punch. If we draw tomorrow, the content will be expanded to 3 books, up to 10 episodes, and the chances of getting useful things will be much smaller by that time. First, there were 5 draws worth 100,000 fans. Congratulations, host, get the Saitama white cloak. Sure enough, the Europeans last time, today are non-Emirates. The white cloak fell on Sumo's hand, shook his head and threw it into the trash without a word. Saitama's uniform has no characteristics at all, let alone injury reduction. Congratulations to host, for getting a TV. Advertisement. Can the TV be pulled out? Congratulations, host, get a football MMP, and football. Is this the football of a kid with a cracked jaw? Sumo threw the football on his hand to the sofa in the living room, and Tenten kicked it when Tenten's lazy eyes were clear. Sure enough, it was a child. Sumo secretly complained, go on. Congratulations to host, get the skill of the vaccine man, light wave ball fragment X1. That's it, skill fragments are very practical for him. Just LV1 can blow up ordinary people to death, LV2 thinks even more. Sumo equipped the fragments, and the LV1 on the upper right side of the white and blue sphere icon changed to LV2. Congratulations to host, get the shard of the Underworld King X1. King of the Underground M. The strength of the Underworld King can compete with Saitama, a godlike monster, but unfortunately in a dream. The strength of the Underworld King can compete with Saitama, a godlike monster, but unfortunately in a dream. In reality, it's just a ghost-level disaster, and it's beautifully different from vaccines. Sumo remembered that the system did not explain the use of character fragments before, and asked, how to use character fragments? Gather the same 10 human fragments, you can summon the character, and the goodwill of the host is friendly and trustworthy. The item can be summoned by only 3 pieces of item. Summoning characters is incredible. Seeing the chaos between RI Man and Marvel, Sumo was eager to try and really wanted to see the scene. The next step is to draw a prize for 500,000 fans, and the probability of getting rare items is 5 times higher than before. Forced to calm and excited, Sumo stared at the lottery interface, his nervous heart was raised in his throat. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the giant skill set, Tough Fragment X2, Strange Power Fragment X1, and Negative Intelligence Fragment X1 Hiss. Sumo took a deep breath, never expected to be able to pull out the suit, A&D. When the system comes out, what does negative intelligence mean? Can it be negative? Advertisement. Can you still draw this thing out of a 500,000 lottery? After taking the potion, Marugoli stupidly shot his brother to death because of lower IQ. Before that, IQ was normal. The mechanical voice paused and said, host can choose not to equip it. Nonsense, this equipment can go up. Fortunately, if he didn't drink it, could Jiali become stupid? Fortunately, he looked at Jiali who was playing ball, and then shook his head again. The potion should have been digested, and even Gar Li was not much smarter. A lottery is to draw any possessions. As long as it is shown, it is regarded as one of the prizes. Whether it is active release or passive talent or other, it is regarded as a skill. Su Mo equipped with the fragments of tenacity and strange power, and as two white lights poured into his body, warm energy was flowing all over his body. It didn't take long for him to feel that the cells throughout his body were activated, and his power was surging in his body. Boom! Su Mo slammed a punch out of thin air, and a terrifying force exploded in midair, and then a shock wave formed from the hit point and rushed to the wall. A big hole was directly punched out of the wall, and the cobweb-like cracks spread in all directions. Golly, who was playing with a ball, glanced at the study, put down the football without saying a word, and went on to eat snacks on her own. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be renovated. Su Mo scratched his head, not annoyed, money is not a problem. He smiled happily, and said with secret joy, as expected to be a dragon-level disaster giant, just the strange power of LV1 can play such a force. Hey, is it Su Mo? Today's New York Carnival Parade, will you come? Peter's joyous voice came from his cell phone, and he, who came out of the trough where Uncle Ben was shot and killed, needed a smile to fill his heart. It is good. After Su Mo hung up the phone, she found Jiali staring at him with tears, and smiled bitterly, okay, I'll take you. He. Jiali immediately picked up the small purple backpack filled with snacks, and ran to the door to beckon. Perhaps the negative intelligence has not been digested, right? Su Mo feels a little tired, but adopting a loli is as worrying as raising a daughter. Chapter 14. New York's Central Park is the largest back garden in the city, and it has always been a place for citizens to sneak in. The jungle is lush, the landscape trees are neatly arranged, and the spacious theater is its hallmark. Carnival is held here. Now the park is full of people, colorful festivals are flying, and floating balloons are flooded all over the sky. Some cartoon dolls are walking on the street. Among them, Spider-Man, a rookie from New York, looks the most. Many children were attracted by it and surrounded them. Adults also laughed and laughed. Several singers sang hard on stage. Exciting music impacted people's hearts, and the noisy sound swept here like a wave. Golly, it's too noisy here. Su Mo frowned when he got out of the taxi. The chaotic atmosphere really didn't suit him. He would rather go back to paint. After all, he was a comic assistant in his previous life, and seeking quietness is his instinct. When Jiali heard this, she immediately pretended to be pitiful and shook Su Mo's arm, and said coquettishly, No. Have fun. Okay, just a while. Su Mo reluctantly agreed. As soon as the speech was finished, Jiali was like a bird returning to the forest. Withdrawing his hands and getting into the crowd, I'm afraid it's going to be thinking about food. As for safety, she thanked God for not causing trouble. Looking at the crowded park, Su Mo saw Peter Parker taking pictures in the distance. His face was full of confidence and excitement. It seemed that Spider-Man's life made him enjoy it. I just don't know how he thinks about the definition of a superhero. Nowadays, influenced by Saitama, the society has begun to have the idea of heroes driven by interest. Peter is a fan of One Punch, which is completely opposite to Uncle Ben's concept of the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Su Mo was about to walk over, but was patted on the shoulder, and a pleasant voice came from behind. Su Mo, you are here too, did Peter call you? Advertisement. He looked back and saw that in front of him was a smiling girl with blonde hair and blue eyes, a soft and full of confidence. She was Gwen Stacy. Both Peter and Harry are students at the same level. The difference from them is that even with a good family background, she worked very hard and was admitted to the university earlier. Now she is a classmate of Su Mo. When Su Mo first saw Gwen, related memories kept flashing in his mind, a cold sweat broke out, and he secretly said, "This is a coincidence too." He whispered, "Kide, I didn't expect the carnival to be so noisy." Peter likes to pull people to participate in activities. Gwen smiled a little on his white face, and then asked curiously, "I heard Peter said that you painted One Punch Man. It's really interesting. Can Saitama beat the Underworld King? How does he exercise?" Unexpectedly, he is still a loyal fan. Su Mo made a slight change to the story of the Underworld King. He moved the final reality plot to the next story, so in the eyes of Manmai, the two are fighting hard. The purpose of this is, of course, to further stimulate the hearts of fans. Think about it, finally, after a week, the new story opens and sees that it is a dream, not to be angry. The purpose of this is, of course, to further stimulate the hearts of fans. Think about it, finally, after a week, the new story opens and sees that it is a dream, not to be angry. The more angry, the more I like to watch. Su Mo feels that the skin is very good. Faced with Gwen, a fan close at hand, Su Mo certainly wouldn't reveal the answer. He avoided the seriousness and spoke lightly. You will know when the time comes. The next issue will be the magazine to be released tomorrow, and there will be 2 new comics. What did you paint? Gwen asked with joy. I advise you not to watch it, but it is very violent and bloody. Don't underestimate me. When Gwen heard this, he was so embarrassed that he slapped Su Mo on the side of the shoulder to express his dissatisfaction, and directly confused him. What's the matter? Advertisement isn't your posture just like a girl in love whipping up her boyfriend? When did the two have such a good relationship? Wait, isn't it Gwen that Nizai implied Chungzin? Su Mo looked at Gwen deeply, and immediately after she finished the film, she stopped and realized that it seemed a bit too much to do so. She couldn't help lowering her head slightly when she stared at Su Mo. Sakura's red color floated across her cheeks. Su Mo was not stupid for 2 generations. Seeing this look, he guessed that he would never leave 10, and he had a headache for a while. During this period of time, Harry had chased Mary, Peter could only watch the goddess plunge into the arms of his friends and he was secretly hurt, and Gwen only stayed in the relationship with his classmates. Su Mo smiled knowingly. How could Lang be ruthless if his concubine was interested? He wouldn't give it to Peter, otherwise it would be a pity in the end. Gwen was in a daze at this time, his face was flushed with his head down, he had never been touched like this before, and he couldn't help but feel embarrassed. She took a deep breath and calmed down and explained, that one, I was a little excited just now. It's okay, human nature. What else could Su Mo say? Only a charming arc curled up at the corner of his mouth, and his intense eyes revealed a teasing look. Only then did Gwen react, and found that it was indeed a change in temperament. Before, his handsome appearance had a touch of decadence and indifference, but now he was completely relaxed and energetic. Just as the two looked at each other, a sharp, hoarse laughter suddenly sounded in the sky. Gee, ha ha ha, happy carnival! Seeking evaluation votes. Chapter 15. Gee ha ha ha, let's have a carnival. The originally lively park suddenly came to a standstill, and the visitors and performers raised their heads. A strange man dressed in dark green armor, stepping on a flight machine that spreads his limbs like a bat, hovering in the sky, looking very strange with the brilliant ribbons and balloons. It wears a hideous helmet that makes people blind to its face. Its light green eyes reveal a cruel color. It is condescending to inspect the flow of people below. When it sees a few previous shareholders, it roars hysterically, "Go to hell! This is a gift!" As soon as the voice fell, several pumpkin-shaped bombs were thrown directly from the bag. With the loud noise of boom, the fire was everywhere. Terrorist attacks. Only then did the people react in a panic and fled around, losing their target like a headless fly and not knowing where to be safe. Rumble. The explosion sounded endlessly, the buildings in the park collapsed one after another under the powerful rushing air current, and the crashing rubble fell like a shower, and an atmosphere of fear enveloped the entire carnival venue. The scene fell into extreme chaos, with screams from time to time, and the streamers and stage were damaged due to crowding. Su Mo looked up at Green Goblin, who had been dropping bombs in the sky, and secretly said, "I didn't expect that the Iron Man plot did not meet the story of Spider-Man instead." With sharp eyes, he had already discovered that Peter had left where he was. He should have gone to hide and changed his clothes, but he didn't know where the dead girl was. "Su Mo, let's go!" Gwen grabbed his arm in horror and hurriedly shouted. Norman Osborn, now Green Goblin, appeared in the center of the park. The person he wanted to kill was in the center. Su Mo and Su Mo were at the entrance, so they haven't been affected in a short time. Advertisement. Well, I'm looking for someone. Su Mo looked around and found that Jili, this loli, was still eating on a table not far away. What made people horrifying was that the people around had bypassed her place as if they hadn't seen her. Even smoke blasting is as if it has encountered barriers and cannot be penetrated. Su Mo once again recognizes the power of Jili, which seems to be a powerful multifaceted application of energy. Stop! Peter finally turned into a Spider-Man wandering between the buildings, constantly releasing spider silk to protect the safety of the people. When Green Goblin heard the words, he gave out a weird sharp smile, and at the same time, he controlled the flight device to greet him, throwing a few pumpkin bombs, and the air wave of the volley explosion sent the Spider-Man flying upside down at a faster speed. Smashed into a building severely. Spider-Man! Come and accept my gift! Spider-Man! Come and accept my gift! Green Goblin directly turned on the machine gun in front of the flight, and countless bullets poured out like a shower, but in an instant, the building was filled with smoke and dust, full of pits and craters. Peter had already used the spider silk to escape to the sky, and approached Green Goblin under the cover of balloons and ribbons. He threw out the spider silk and dragged the bat flight device down. Peter relied on super strong sense and sensitive body, Green Goblin relied on high-tech equipment and potion bonus, the two played well and were evenly matched. Suemo took advantage of the scuffle between the two sides and walked quickly to Jiuli. He mentioned it without saying a word, and said with no anger, "It's all like this, and I'm still eating. Eat a little more, they are so weak and they can't do anything to me." The lifted Golly kicked her calf to express dissatisfaction. "What about something to eat? Break the law? Suemo and Jiali have 3 chapters about the law. You must not use abilities privately in front of outsiders and become like ordinary people at the same time, otherwise Suemo really can't mention it." Advertisement. "I'll eat, I won't take you next time." Suemo watched Galilean swallowing jujube stuffed in his mouth, and drank slightly before making Gaily stop. Garly was too involved in this kind of scene, others were crying and running, but she was eating and playing. Gwen didn't know why he didn't run out. Instead, he followed Suemo and stared at the delicate foodie girl and asked, "Is she my sister? I picked it up." Humph! When Golly heard it, her little head snorted coldly. Just as the 3 of Suemo were running outside, a familiar voice came into their ears. "Suemo! Suemo, save us!" He looked back to smell the reputation and saw Harry and Mary trapped on the balcony, beckoning to him all the time. Spider-Man wanted to go to the rescue but was entangled by Green Goblin, and was even beaten by OU after a moment of distraction. After a while, he was at a disadvantage. The building Harry was in was actually the main target of Green Goblin's attack. Of course he didn't want to kill his son, but when he was killing 2 shareholders, Harry got involved. There was constant blasting behind the balcony, unable to retreat, and the floor under my feet began to crack and would fall at any time. Then the 2 could only be a pair of desperate mandarin ducks. The 2 nestled in a corner trying to ease the journey, tremblingly calling out the people passing by for help. It's a pity that they couldn't help themselves to save anyone. Seek 3 links. Chapter 16. Yeah. Suemo is not a virgin. He was indifferent to the disaster in the park just before Peter came. After all, his good and evil value should be 0, neither positive nor negative, it doesn't matter how high it is. But he couldn't help Harry to death. Harry was good to him. The comfort before, I heard from Peter that he bought 100 juvenile jumps as support. Turning his head to Gwen said, "You take Jiali and leave to safety, don't separate." Then he told Jiali, "You know." "All right." Listening to Jiali's perfunctory voice, Suemo smiled bitterly in secret, not to mention asking Gwen to take care of Jiali, but the opposite is true. Gwen took Jiali's shoulders and ran out quickly, looking back at Suemo's leaving back, his heart was touched. In such a crisis, he is unique in being able to work hard. Suemo still looked back to save her friend, which made her heart throb. Suemo, who ran to the balcony, would never know that he had been transformed into a brave hero. In fact, he was not stupid. If he had just crossed over, he would definitely not do this, and would be powerless. Now he is different. He wants to try the strength of tenacity and weird power. In the future, he is bound to fight with the super powerful, and wants to adapt to the environment. Whether it is his own moral bottom line or trying the waters, they tend to make him do this. In the chaos of the crowd, Suemo, who has been exercising since he came to Marvel, rushed to the balcony without any risk. "Harry, give me your hand." Suemo pulled Harry over first. Mary was now half of her body suspended in the air, the cracks were expanding, and she might fall to the ground and die at any time. In this case, it is very difficult for ordinary people to pull up an adult with only one arm, but it is very easy for Suemo, who has level 1 strange power. After successfully pulling the two of them, Sumo took them out of the building, and they saw Green Goblin killing the 2 shareholders of the company with their own eyes. Advertisement, especially Harry, the 2 shareholders had just finished talking with him before, and they were immediately confused. Just as the 3 were leaving the park, Green Goblin noticed them. At this time, the pleasure of killing became more and more swelling, and his head was full of destruction. What, Harry? His son has been completely abandoned. He threw a pumpkin bomb and threw it at the 3 of Sumo. Spider-Man wanted to release the spider silk interception but was pounced on by the Green Goblin-controlled flight that had been prepared, and the silk net was directly interrupted. Call out Sumo, and the 3 people noticed the noise from far and near. They couldn't help but turn their heads and saw the bomb rushing straight forward. Harry and Mary looked desperate for an instant. It was too eager to prevent them. On the other hand, Sumo didn't change his face. He rushed up to the pumpkin and kicked it with a whip kick. In the shock of everyone present, the pumpkin bomb flew out at the speed of a cannonball and directly hit Green Goblin. Boom! The bomb suddenly exploded, a turbulent shock wave swept through Green Goblin's body, fire blazed in the air, and the flight was repelled and swayed by the air wave. What? What? Green Goblin screamed dumbly. Although wearing the armor greatly reduced the damage, the impact force poured into the body through the armor, and the pain of the sharp crack directly awakened him from desire. Only then did he recover and almost killed Harry. Before he had time to pay attention to Spider-Man, he controlled the flight to rush out. And Spider-Man had to give up the idea of chasing Green Goblin if he wanted to save people. Sumo, you are awesome. So handsome, that kick. Harry came back from the edge of death with a numb scalp, showing admiration in his eyes and yelling in excitement. Mary Jane on the side was also shining with little stars, looking like a fan. Don't look at it as a simple kick. In fact, Sumo has already used level 1 monster power to kick back at a speed that Green Goblin can't react at all. Advertisement: the high explosive bomb inside triggered an explosion with hindsight. Go back quickly. Sumo waved his hand and parted with the 2 of them. The 2 of them froze in shock, got into Harry's car and left the place of right and wrong. At this time, the police sirens sounded all around, and the police arrived late, and fire trucks and ambulances arrived afterwards. When Sumo returned to the street outside, Gwen rushed over and touched his body, asking worriedly, Sumo, how are you? Are you okay? Are there any injuries? It's okay, I'm fine. Upon seeing this, Sumo happily asked Gwen to check, while staring at her with his eyes. Gwen's expression was a little unnatural, but as an American, as a female academic tyrant, she didn't know what shyness was, and instead looked back boldly at each other. The air at this time became anxious, and Gwen's delicate red lips made Sumo a little moved, but it was counterproductive. Gwen, why are you here? A middle-aged man in a police uniform ran over and looked at Gwen anxiously and asked. The 2 stared affectionately and silently, interrupted by a sudden voice, and both put away their unstable and rippling emotions. Dad. The visitor was the chief of the New York City Police Department, George Stacy. Hello, I am Gwen's friend, Sumo. Garly, who was left out in the cold, mocked expressionlessly, man. Chapter 17. The sudden change of Carnival Day broke out in the afternoon. Many passers-by recorded the explosion with their mobile phones. Undoubtedly, the terrorist attack cast a shadow on the United States. In particular, the video of the Green Goblin and Spider-Man game has been clicked over 100 million times on YouTube, which can be said to be an uproar in the world. If Iron Man opened the era of superheroes, then the Green Goblin incident is an era when the world has been announced to the world as supercriminals. People don't know that they find that in addition to mutants, there are such superhumans in the world, and that they are destroying their original lives and threatening their lives. It is more frightening than mutants. 100 people were killed and injured during the carnival. The panic caused by the extreme anxiety all turned into a storm of anger and public opinion hitting the White House in the United States, accusing the Security Department of negligence. At the same time, the internet is also watching the development of Spider-Man. Spider-Man can be said to be a superhero who has emerged in people's sight after Captain Steve. In fact, Spider-Man's fame had already started in New York before this carnival, but many people thought it was a grandstanding. Now that this battle scene is out, it's really incredible. Many newspapers and media have dubbed him a good neighbor in New York. Now Peter is well deserved, using selfies to get a good price. Since Peter has become a big winner, of course there will be losers. Green Goblin is the mastermind of the attack and the biggest loser. Killing the two shareholders, the company did not improve, on the contrary, and it was revealed that some of Green Goblin's technology and equipment came from Osborn Industries. The angry people directly moved their guns to Osborn and fired, and Stark Industries' stock plummeted. If the necessary measures are not taken, it may be difficult to revolving heaven. Chairman Norman didn't show up, but Harry, the son, stood up to comfort the employees of the company, and barely slowed down the rate of decline. The above is today's urgent news, and the following is from Stark Industries. One of the founders, Obadiah Stein, is in charge of the company. There is no news about Tony Stark. It's really American. Advertisement. At this time Su Mo and Jiali were sitting on the sofa, watching the host's report on TV, and he couldn't help but sigh. In the previous life of the United States, there was something wrong with Tenton due to the problem of uncontrollable guns. The American reports in Marvel have not reported the shooting. Compared with these superpowers, the group is simply not on the same level. The New York police are even more busy. In the morning, I left without saying a few words with the New York police chief, and Gwen also needed to settle down. He just exchanged phone numbers and went back. He didn't worry about the little white rabbit that was brought to his mouth. It will be long in the future. Hey, is there anything you drink before? Jiali shook Su Mo's hand and asked Meng. She was very greedy about the solution in the previous test tube. In addition to the unpleasant taste, she had far more energy than any other creature on Earth. Gone. Gone. Su Mo flicked her forehead with his hand, and lost his breath. It's silly to drink a few more times. Ignoring Jiali's teary expression, Su Mo walked into the study and started to draw the gourd. At the same time, he planned to put 2 long comics in the 3rd issue of the weekly Shonen Jump. Tomorrow is the 2nd issue of the weekly magazine, and there is still some time before the 3rd issue, but this attack by Green Goblin makes him feel that time is pressed. Super criminals have already begun to emerge. Only Spider-Man's opponents have several future appearances, and other Jicky Snake gods will appear on the Marvel stage. Perhaps he should consider setting up an additional magazine for a comprehensive release. Advertisement. Just after Su Mo left, the TV host smiled and reported, I interviewed Reed Richards today. This child has been known as a child prodigy since he was a child. State universities and other world-class prestigious universities, and have received doctoral degrees in engineering, mathematics, physics, and other fields. He and the 3 astronauts will do it in a week. Feeling a little boring, Jiali switched to the animation channel with her mind. Soon after, the doorbell rang, and a deep voice rang. Ding dong! Your takeaway is here. Su Mo put down the paintbrush in his hand, got up and walked to the door of the living room. Jiali glanced at Byakugan and turned Byakugan back. Ugh! Normally, Jiali should be very excited to skip over when she meets food. How did she change her S*X today? Su Mo was a little surprised, but he didn't think much about it and left it behind. He opened the door and sarcastically said, Takeaway, it's really slow. Sorry, sir, there is no takeaway. As the deliveryman outside the door slowly opened the door, his plain apology suddenly became as cold as frost. The moment the two looked at each other, a cold light flashed. Seeking evaluation votes. Seek 3 links. Chapter 18. Guy is a professional killer and an eagle dog hired by the gang. His boss, Frank, is a drug lord on West Blue, who specializes in smuggling drugs and selling children. Just 4 days ago, a gangster who held an important position in the gang disappeared. After sending someone to look for it, it turned out to be a residue. When they got the news, the police had already sealed off the scene. As the boss of the underworld, why didn't they get in touch with the local police in the United States? So at a price, the gang called out the video taken by the camera. The United States has no more probes than the sky. Because of the privacy, it only found clues in a distant probe. There are not a few people passing by in this alley. Of course, the police will not arrest people without evidence. Could they be arrested in Chengdu? Just when they could only swallow the bitter fruit into their stomachs, someone found Su Mo's figure at the carnival scene, and his figure appeared in the probe. Su Mo's kick of the pumpkin bomb seemed to them to have a certain amount of force, perhaps it was the murderer who killed the gang members. After finding the suspected murderer, the underworld had its own set of methods and sent Guyan to kill the people directly. Even if it's not, it doesn't matter if you kill the wrong one. The eldest Frank has already investigated Su Mo's information clearly. Both of his parents have died, he inherited a small company, and recently adopted a girl. I was close to the young master of the Osborne group, but now I can't protect myself. What kind of personal connections? Boss, I'm already near the target residence. Guy Ian, dressed in black casual clothes and a baseball cap to hide his face, hid in the alley, and said respectfully to the other end of the phone. You are waiting for an opportunity, don't leave any traces. An indifferent voice came from the phone, freezing to the bone. Yes. By the way, bring that little girl here. If you want to live, you can sell it for a good price. Yes, I remember. Guy hung up the phone, put it in his inner bag, packed his clothes and got ready for action. Hey! An electric scooter was ridden in the distance. Guy stood vigilantly and looked at it. Judging from this costume, he was a takeaway. The deliveryman came to Sumo's residence without noticing him at all. He was about to get out of the car and knock on the door. His brain had an idea. What a godsend opportunity! Guy turned into an afterimage and approached with lightning speed. His 5 fingers were cut into a knife, he stunned, and dragged into the alley. Sure enough, Guy checked the information bar on the outsourcing, the delivery destination is here, and he put the delivery staff away. He didn't kill this person. If he killed the takeaway, there would be traces left on the scene. Coupled with Sumo disappearing at home, the police is likely to make associations and follow the vine. In particular, Sumo has something to do with the chief of the New York City Police Department. The chief can't tolerate any sand in his eyes. It would be very uncomfortable for the gang to be targeted. So only knocking out is the best. The delivery staff did not see his face. Guy put on his baseball cap and went to the electromechanical car, put the package on it, and secretly said, just to have a meal after the killing, this time the goal is really good. Advertisement Guy and walked to the door and rang the doorbell. With the sound of ding-dong, he had heard the sound of footsteps from far and near. Coming. Crunch. The door opened, and Guy also heard Sumo's complaint, and while slowly raising his head, he coldly revealed his killing intent. Sir, no takeaway. Guy raised his right hand instinctively, clutching the alloy dagger tightly, and the tip of the blade was shivering with chills, and it slashed towards Sumo's neck. He practiced this movement no less than 100 times, and there were 50 deaths with a single cut of his throat without exception, and it is the same today. The target did not move at all, he had no time to dodge at all, he was dead. Guy vowed to secretly, what was the flavor he even planned to take out in his mind. However, in the next second, his face froze directly. When the metal collided with a hard object, making a clear and loud sound, and Guy's pupils suddenly shrank to a point. Fuck! What did he see? In fact, what Guy looked at was normal. Sumo's neck and knife point. But the combination can make your scalp numb. The tip of the knife is now close to the side of Sumo's neck. Guy's hand holding the dagger suddenly becomes trembling. No matter how hard it is, he can't cut it, and the imaginary spring of blood can't come out at all. This dagger has killed countless people. It is made of rare alloys and is extremely sharp. There are even 2 grooves on it. To be honest, it can pierce the skin even if it is touched slightly sideways. This skin is too thick. Mutants. Guy can only think of this, thanks to Magneto's assassination of the president. The first suspected abnormal phenomenon is mutants. Even Spider-Man and Green Goblin at the carnival are suspected to be mutants. It's so arrogant without takeaway. Sumo's face was gloomy and water dripped out. Whenever someone opened the door, someone stabbed him with a dagger and had a bad temper. It's no wonder that Gale was lying on the sofa. She knew there was no takeaway at all. This person is not a takeaway, he should be a killer. Sumo's eyes burst out with a strong killing intent, and his left hand directly clamped the dagger and took it away. Looking at Guy's panic expression, he directly applied force. Crack! The dagger was broken directly and fell to the ground. Advertisement Sumo pinched Guy Ian before he could react, and lifted it up. If an outsider was there, he might laugh out loud. Guy is a strong white man with a height of nearly 1.9 meters. In comparison, Sumo is a lot thinner, only nearly 1.8 meters. It is strange to mention that Sumo, who are you? Sumo asked flatly. Guy graciously heard the words, and just snorted, damn mutant. It seems I don't want to say, then go to death. Sumo doesn't want to waste time on this killer, this kind of person cannot speak unless it is hypnosis brainwashing. Hey! The LV2 light wave ball was formed out of thin air. Compared to the level 1 level, he was slightly larger. Sumo shot him into the assassin's body. Golly! Ah! Guy Ian had a hideous face, his veins burst out, and he wailed hysterically. Bang! The assassin's body suddenly burst open, blood splattered from it, and the scum spilled but was stopped by the purple cover, and then shrank into a small purple blood cell. Then it fell into Jiali's hand, put it in front of her nose and sniffed. Sumo asked, "You want to eat? Well, don't you like me like this?" Jiali asked softly, looking up at Sumo. "I don't usually eat this, I just think it's bad." After living with Sumo for a period of time, Jiali's instinct became more and more obvious. He can eat raw food and be friendly to some humans, but he is not blindly thinking that humans are all good people, which makes him feel at ease. "You like it yourself?" Sumo touched Jiali's little head. A murderer is always killed by a person, and it is the same as being eaten and killed. Sumo is not a superhero, let alone a defender. Maybe he is a villain. Sumo, find out his phone, I will help you find the person behind the scenes. Do you still have this ability? Of course, our clan was the most advanced civilization in the universe at that time. And then it exploded. Chapter 19. A luxurious building boss, Guy has passed. "You don't need to bother you to tell me this little thing," Frank's confidant said respectfully. "I know, but there is something wrong." Wearing a suit of a high-class elite, Frank, the gangster boss, appeared to be the chairman of the foreign trade company. In fact, he was involved in all dark sides. The huge profits made him crazy. He became a big drug lord. The local patrols and even high-level officers were fed by him. Even if Chief George wanted to arrest him, he might be undercover to inform him just after the meeting. In fact, he still didn't believe that this Hyuxia named Sumo did it, and he felt that it came from a larger American gang. The accident took place in Manhattan, near the Hell's Kitchen. There are several unfathomable righteous policemen. In addition, there is the largest underworld empire in the United States. The ruler is named Jin Bin, a terrifying king who makes people talk about the tiger. If both of these were really done, Frank could only ask himself to be boring. Bang bang bang. Suddenly there were bursts of gunfire outside. Frank did not panic, but calmly picked up the phone and said, "What's the matter?" "Boss, 2 intruders have been found sneaking into the building, but please rest assured that the security forces are completely sufficient." As the gang boss, naturally there will be countless enemies who want to strip him alive, but these people have sunk into the bottom of the sea, living and seeing no one or a dead body. Righteous police, secretly filming reporters are even more crowded. Frank used money to not only bribe the police and achieve black and white, but also hire countless bodyguards and gunmen. There are not a few top professional killers like Guy N, as well as mutants who are greedy for money. No one can come to him without his permission. In fact, the same is true. On the ground floor of the building, there were frequent gunshots and screams from time to time. Metal bullets were flying and pouring everywhere, and no place was complete. A line shuttles between the floors like a phantom. The small and sensitive body turns into a ghost to harvest life, and there are burly men behind to provide fire support. A few darts were mixed in the bullets, and the little purple loli moved between the pillars. The super-skilled ice-cold fighting for a time suppressed the gangsters with unpreparedness. It's a pity that the good times didn't last long, and the gangs couldn't let them be slaughtered. The middle-level forces began to arrive, with fierce firepower and amazingly destructive shotguns fired. Bang bang bang! The thunder on the ground exploded in the ears of the two of them. As soon as they poked their heads out, they would be beaten into mashed flesh and scattered everywhere. Advertisement at this time, another uninvited guest came outside the building. "Hey!" A taxi stopped slowly in the distance, and the driver was a little worried. "Boy, are you sure it's here? There seems to be gunfire. This is the gang's territory." He saw fire and roar from the distant building. "Well, right here." Sumo got out of the car and let the driver uncle drove away after paying the money. "It looks like something went wrong." Sumo looked up at the tall buildings. Since the killer appeared, it meant that someone was looking at him, and all the information of Frank through Garley's black technology was laid out. After reading it, Sumo didn't know how to offend a gangster, but it happened. After reading it, Sumo had no idea how to offend a gangster, but it had already happened. Frank will know afterwards that the assassination failed, and after a rage, he may be troubled by the comics company. At that time, it will undoubtedly delay the release of comics, which will affect the income of fans. The best way to solve this problem is to completely eradicate the enemy all at once. Just kill. Never thought that when he came, the gang had an accident, and someone approached Frank. Along the way, there were large and small craters, gangsters cut by sharp blades, and some gangsters who just lost their fighting ability. Their consciousness was still very clear. They saw Sumo drove in and went straight upstairs. Ding dong. Rumble. When the elevator reached the 4th floor, guns sounded like thunder, and the door opened. Sumo walked out and looked at the battlefield ahead. The gunfight was stopped immediately, and the gang stared at the uninvited guest. There was no tension at all in the visitor, and it even seemed to be a tourist. The lowly and the strong man who had looked at each other. Who is this young man? Advertisement. One of the white men with tattoos, holding 2 guns, strode up to Sumo, pointed the muzzle directly at him, and grinned, "Boy, who are you? If you don't say clearly, you will die." Sumo heard the words, with a slightly plain face, and said, "I advise you to put down the gun and speak, otherwise there will be no whole body." He has never been pointed at by a gun before, and he is indeed a gangster style. Sneer. Ha ha ha. Whole body. I'm going to kill you, kid, chop it off and feed the dog. The white man laughed as if he heard a joke, shouting hideously. Bang. The gunfire sounded, and in the slow motion of time, the cone popped out. The gangsters grinned and sighed that he was overpowered, while the 2 in the dark secretly regretted. They are hard to protect themselves. They did not expect that Frank's security force was so strong that he would not only be unable to attack for a long time, but he would be in trouble. When? In the next moment, everyone present was stunned, and the eyeballs all flew out of the eye sockets. The bullet hit Sumo's forehead without piercing, but hit the skin due to the unstoppable force. On the ground. The white man was surprised. Mutant. Sumo did not respond, but suddenly clenched his fist and slammed it against the white man's abdomen. He heard a muffled sound. Unparalleled strength swept through his body. He didn't even make a scream. Forming a gorgeous beauty in mid-air. I said it, but unfortunately I didn't listen. Sumo's cold words resounded across the floor, and the gangsters only felt a numbness of their scalp, and they blasted them with just one punch. Lolita, who wore fake purple hair, exclaimed, "Daddy, he is too strong." Well, Mindy, don't forget, Frank also has a mutant. The Big Daddy Damon only changed slightly and didn't think Sumo could do this mutant. While talking, he looked at the back of the gangster, and there was a black man standing. At this time, wearing a white hat with the opposite skin color, he walked out surrounded by gangsters, shaking his neck. His whole body was like popping beans, his huge body brought a great sense of heaviness, and more than that, the temperature in the room started to rise. Hot, dull, enveloped the audience. There are 2 things, kid, it's a pity. Chapter 20. The black man gave a condescending grin, and as soon as his voice fell, his hands burst into flames, as cool as a magician. Drink. The heat wave rolled, and the flame broke out from the hand, turning into 2 thick fireballs and attacking Sumo Flame's mutation ability, but it's a bit weak. In the face of the raging flame bomb, Sumo gave his assessment truthfully, without changing his face, slowly raised his hand, clenched his fist, and greeted him, suddenly asking as fast as lightning blasted into the air. Boom! The thunderous sound blasted in everyone's ears, the hitting point began to ripple, and the boundless airwave was squeezed by the strong force to form a hurricane, and poured forward. This is sonic boom. The shock wave extinguished the flame bombs like a decay, carrying an irresistible force that surgingly impacted the gangs. What? The gangsters flew upside down in the air with a scream of screams, and hit the glass wall. The last few hapless guys directly smashed through the glass and fell directly, and the plasma splashed all over the floor. Ahem! The black man's whole body was in tatters. The wounds caused by the cutting of large and small airflows kept spilling blood. He coughed and vomited blood. He looked at Sumo in horror, and said in a panic, "Who are you? Why are you here?" He couldn't help being frightened, and the power of this person in front of him could actually make a sonic boom. As far as he knew, no one among the mutants could do it. Such a strong man would be the enemy of the gang. How could it be possible? Who am I? You'll know if you ask Frank, go down and ask him. Sumo chuckled, and the white energy flow sprang from his body to form several white light balls floating around him. The croaking sound seemed to the gangsters as if Shinigami was calling. Several white balls suddenly ejected, and one of them hit the black man, dragging the burly body and flying backwards. Boom! The white ball that rushed into the crowd suddenly exploded, exploding in midair like a high explosive bomb, and most of the gangsters screamed again. This time it wasn't just flying off, but it was directly blown into residual limbs, blood, and desperate wailing hovering on this level, like a hell on earth. Damon trembled in his heart, and his entire body was terrified. Advertisement. Sumo glanced at the place where the two of them were hiding. The cold eyes made the two of them feel terrified and couldn't help but walk out. Are you asking Frank for trouble? Compared with Dad's prudent words and deeds, Mindy is too naughty, and only feels cool to clean up these gangsters so quickly. Of course, you know where he is. Sumo squinted his eyes and looked at the two of them carefully. It's on the top floor. Damon pointed and said. Sumo walked to the elevator, and the two Mindy followed carefully without a word. The noise subsided suddenly, and Frank called the black man but no one answered him, his brows furrowed, and his heart was extremely disturbed. Isn't it just two people? Why didn't even reply a message? Guy Odd, you go out and take a look. Guy Strange, you go out and take a look. The leaner man was also his confidant. He nodded and opened the door little by little, and there was no movement when he looked up at the stairs. Ding dong! The elevator rang, but 3 people walked out after hearing the reputation. The leader was still a kid. Frank? Damon saw Frank behind Guy opening the door at a glance, and the enemy was right in front of him, like the roar of a volcanic eruption. Had it not been for fear of angering this young man, he would have rushed past everything. It was incredible for Guy to see that the two of them and a little kid could go to the top level. He didn't dare to carelessly retreat to Frank before him, always on guard. Who are you? Who sent you here? Frank, as a gangster boss, didn't panic but said heavily. At the same time, there was a button under the table, and he quietly pressed it. This is not an alarm. The characteristics of the police who arrived after the incident are the same in all countries. It is impossible for him to install this in the gang headquarters. This is a communication device for his strategic allies. The speed of the allies is undoubtedly surpassed by the American police countless times. Only a few minutes later, there will be rescues soon. At that time, who wins and who loses, it may be possible. Advertisement. Frank, the underworld drug lord, just sent a killer at noon, but now he asks who I am? I don't have a face mask. Sumo walked in slowly, whispered softly, and looked straight at Frank with a cold light flashing in his eyes. It seems you didn't care about it. Why did you send a killer? After Frank heard this, Sumo's picture appeared in his mind. He didn't believe that the murderer was Sumo, and he just let Guy try his luck. It turned out to be you, who killed my important subordinates the other day. A few days ago? Oh, you seem to be the head of a gangster. Sumo remembered that a few gangsters had been killed in the small alley. It's a coincidence. Guy Strange, stop them. Frank gave the order, and Guy rushed up when he heard that, but a white light flashed in his eyes, and he lost consciousness after feeling severe pain all over his body. Superpower. Frank, who saw the end from the beginning, said every word after Guy Chi died, but I won't die. Frank, I'm going to kill you myself. Damon couldn't suppress the flame in his heart. He rushed over hysterically, threw a dagger and flew Frank's pistol. He wanted to kill this damn guy with his own hands. Damon is actually a policeman. He wants to get justice and he is determined to send the villain Frank to prison, but he didn't expect Frank to directly bribe police insiders and directly forge a series of criminal evidence. Let Damon force her back and go to jail. His wife could not accept Damon and turned from a policeman to a criminal in a blink of an eye, and committed suicide. The whole family broke down. All this is Frank's fault. The moment Damon shook his fist about to hit Frank's head, with a swish, a shuriken suddenly and quickly struck, with black light shining on it, and poison smeared on it. Damon quickly avoided the attack while not hitting Frank sideways, but his face was solemn, and a dozen figures suddenly appeared around him. They all dressed in red and masked looking like ninjas, holding 5/8-gate weapons to surround the 3 of them. Chapter 21. The picture above shows the super killer girl, Mindy McCready, from King of the Sea and also belongs to Marvel. Tisk tisk, there are ninjas. Sumo can't see clearly what the Marvel comic universe is, and the movie universe looks much more normal. Suddenly remembered if it would be interesting to summon the characters from Naruto. Who are you? Damon quickly stepped back and stood with Minty. When he woke up, he immediately realized that he wanted to protect his daughter, even though the daughter was trained very powerfully by him. There were more than a dozen Dongying ninjas around, even though they were not far apart, Damon could still feel the awe-inspiring killing intent on these ninjas, each of which was a terrifying top killer. The scene fell into silence. Frank didn't say a word, he took a sigh of relief at the moment the ninja in red appeared. His fortune was saved. Even if the gang members can't kill Sumo, it's okay to take him away without help. As long as he does not die for a day, he will avenge today's revenge. Hey, first of all, some comic company will go bankrupt. Frank's eyes showed fierce light, and he stared at Sumo. These ninjas were silent as if they hadn't heard the question of Damon, as if a person squinted and stared ahead, and in their eyes there were only dead people. Mindy and Damon became nervous for a while, and their strong aura made them afraid to move. They had to make a comprehensive plan. Do you think you can escape? Sumo looked at Frank who was fiercely facing each other and knew what he was thinking about. Could these ninjas still be able to perform ninjutsu? Hey, I admit that you are very strong. If you want to kill me, it's best to think clearly before doing it. We can shake hands and make peace. You are dead. Sumo stunned back when he heard the words. He is not stupid. This kind of underworld figure can cheat himself if he speaks. Frank smiled grimly and said coldly. Kill him. As soon as the voice fell, Sumo heard a few piercing noises in his ears, and the bright samurai sword suddenly appeared out of thin air from his side. The cold edge was unexpected. Sumo didn't see it clearly, but he was not afraid, just wondering how tough LV2 could reach. Clang! The crisp sound of metal collision sounded, hovering in everyone's ears. The katana slashed Sumo's head and wanted to cut it in half, but he didn't want the veins of his arm to burst and he couldn't move it deeply. Ordinary people will be sluggish just like the killer guy and before, but the ninja with hands on hands is not surprised. There are only 5 leaders in the Shaohui, known as the 5 Fingers. They have strong melee combat capabilities. The ninjas under it have encountered opponents such as superpower or mutants in their missions. Advertisement I'm used to seeing too much. Since my skin is thick, I will try to find out where the limit is. A few red after images suddenly appeared after passing by, the exposed eyes exuded cold eyes, and the sickle was thrown out to Sumo's neck. Several shurikens were thrown, and the poison on them could penetrate and cause death on the spot with just a little wound. Clang clang! It was blocked again, the blade of the sickle was rolled up directly, and the shuriken was the broken tip. Ninjas don't know how to do ninjutsu. I really feel ashamed of this title. Sumo Bolin watched the ninjas show their magical powers without surprise, and there was nothing in his memory at all. He shook his head in disappointment. Ninjutsu? What the hell? The headed ninja in red felt that his self-esteem had been humiliated, and dancing with weapons was even more majestic, but he was humiliated. Sumo was still unscathed. Yun Tanfan looked at them lightly as if they were watching a circus as a beaming joker. Frank's face changed drastically. Now the situation is too clear. The hand-to-hand club is not Sumo's opponent at all, and he shouted timidly, "Take me out of here." When the ninja who seemed to be the captain heard this, his eyes were erratic and could only retreat angrily to Frank. Want to escape? Want to escape? Sumo knows that his strength is too rough. The merits of these ninjas are their fine fighting skills and weird physical skills. If Frank is taken away, it will be even more difficult to find him next time. Next moment. Boom! Sumo slammed a punch out of thin air, and the air wave on the fist evacuated everything around him. The sonic boom in the air exploded like thunder, and it poured forward with lightning speed. The ninja intended to directly take Frank to escape into the dark with his ghostly physical skills, but he didn't expect the shocking current of the waves to rush toward his face. Buzzing! The fierce airflow not only made him unable to leave, but also made him slam into the wall like a kite with a missing string. The crashing rubble slid down and fell on the 2 Franks. At this time, they were in a panic, with dense scratches all over the body. Sumo walked to the gravel pile in a leisurely footstep, and several white light balls sprang out like lightning in the sound of, and hit the other ninjas in his hand. Boom! Under the burst of bright red rain, his face was frosty, watching them like Shura. If a ninja wants to run, Sumo really can't catch up with his current ability, and he doesn't have the speed and agility skills, but these are dead men who do not achieve their goals in order to complete tasks. Advertisement. Their appearance is to protect Frank, indicating that there will never be abandonment, and Frank's reaction is not as good as the Jainin, and he is half a beat slow. Suemo took advantage of this half-time, and hit the two men in one fell swoop, completing the destruction of the red ninja. Well, I didn't expect that I had been planted in the hands of a kid for so many years. If you want to kill, kill it. Frank's strong body smiled bitterly, in a posture of being slaughtered. Now I have changed my mind again. Suemo sneered at this and patted the clothes on his body. The ninja's attack is still useful, there are holes everywhere. I really want to ask where the manufacturer of Hulk underwear is, and whether to order a set of them. Don't kill me. Frank was overjoyed and secretly said, he was able to escape from the dead, but the ninja lying on the side was anxious and terrifying. Is this a joke? This is the one thing he wanted to ask in his consciousness. Damon and Mindy's faces looked very ugly. But in the next second, the two of them were stunned, and then they beamed. You two, let's do it, I'll go first. Suemo turned around and walked to the elevator and raised it. At this time, the police sirens sounded near the building. No, no, it's impossible. Frank's twists and turns from death to alive and falling from heaven to hell broke the underworld boss. Frank, remember that I killed you myself. Damon held his gun against his forehead, showing a cruel smile, and his speech was gentle and biting. Boom. At the same time, Mindy killed the ninja who was still beside her. Come on, Mindy. Well, big old man, where are you going now? After Damon got what he wanted, his hand-blade enemy was so excited that he fell into confusion. What is the future path? After a moment of silence, he firmly said, you go to school. Ugh. Chapter 22. As the setting sun sets, there are secrets hidden in the red sky. 8 police cars were parked around the Frank building, and the cordon was pulled up. Chief George got out of the car. He led the team and looked up at the building. Smoke billowed from above, and the situation was worse than he thought. To be reasonable, this is the site of Frank's drug lord, unless he wants to capture Frank or he doesn't want to step into this place. It's a disgusting place of depravity. But today is different. The residents in this area immediately called the police after hearing the bursts of gunfire. George thought it was a gang rage, so he didn't rush to take all the combat forces in the bureau to get a fisherman's profit, but he didn't expect to rush into the air. Several stalls of blood passing by on the ground make people bleed. When I walked into the building, I saw a shocking bloody hell, none of which were live mouths, gunshot wounds, cuts and stumps found everywhere on the 4th floor. It appears to be caused by a high-energy explosive bomb, but no shrapnel was found at the scene. All the way up to the top floor, the fighting took place between floors, but there was no fierce exchange of fire on the stairs. At the same time, it can be seen that after the battle, the upper middle class ran to the lower class to encircle and suppress them, but unfortunately they all died. In the end, Frank, the biggest leader of the gang, was lying on the ground. Those godless eyes and desperate face all revealed the great mood swings before Frank's death. Director, all the surveillance cameras are out of control and there is no image. A technician came to report. Director, look at this. George stepped forward and looked at the place where the staff pointed, cracks cracked. He wondered, this kind of crack has appeared on the 4th floor. It is the same kind. What is strange is that it does not extend around, indicating that his point of action is not on the ground. A young policeman speculated excitedly, could it be that the air was blown out of thin air, and the wave hit the floor? This idea came to him with a flash of inspiration. As a loyal fan of Saitama, he feels that he can do it with great power. Don't treat fantasy as reality. Advertisement. The staff ran a pot of cold water and directly denied it, a guess of the true answer. At the same time, some of their wounds are newly added. They should be completely killed after they have killed Frank. They will not give any chance to reveal the appearance of the murderer, and the number of them is small. George walked to the side of the red ninja, frowned and thought, some are not gangsters, are they ninjas? The surname of the matter began to change. I thought it was a gang rage, but now it is revealed that the armed forces of other countries have penetrated the United States. This is not a small matter, and it will cause international disturbances. At this time, a policeman outside came in and shouted, Chief, it seems that the detective is asking to see you. George flicked his face when he heard the words and was in a terrible mood. Then they walked into a few people in black, and they walked over the surrounding scene calmly and strode quickly. The head is a taller, kind-looking middle-aged man who combs his hair meticulously at the back of his hairline. Director George, I'm an agent of the CIA Central Intelligence Agency. Here are my credentials. The middle-aged man took out his ID and handed it over, and smiled friendly. The middle-aged man took out his ID and handed it over, and smiled friendly. Oh, no, I actually saw you at noon. At that time, you showed your credentials to other police chiefs, Collison from the FBI. Chief George chuckled. As soon as his voice fell, Collison didn't change his face, and the police around him put on his waist holster quietly at the same time. The agents behind Collison narrowed their eyes. George paused, waved his hand and said, whether you are the FBI or the CIA, I know that the document is true. Why? I have to accept this case again. Director George certainly knows that Collison is true, and saying this before so many people is an indication of dissatisfaction that the carnival case was taken over at noon. Tenton, the police's job these days, is done by someone. Volunteer police, a special official department, made the role of the police directly become the city management of the Celestial Dynasty. Yes, it is really helpful for you to provide us with all the information about this incident. Collison was not surprised when the lie was exposed. The fact that this kind of document was true was his confidence. Advertisement George, who is just the chief, knows that the more he knows, the worse. This is a deep pool, he just responded and turned and left. Soon, the police evacuated the building instead of some powerful agents in black. Report this information to the director first. New York is really not peaceful. Collison read the police information, shook his head and smiled bitterly. I am back. Su Mo returned to the house, took out the key, turned the door, looked at Jiali who was eating the sea, his face turned black, staring at the little loli angrily and shouted, I'm working hard outside, you stealing food behind my back. Why did you buy 3 copies of this takeaway? Cut, I made the surveillance probe. This takeaway is a reward. Jialiwa was eating pizza on the sofa, turned over with a look of disdain, and Byakugan muttered, Su Mo, I found you are so useless. Don't tell the truth. Su Mo sat depressed on the sofa and competed with Jiali for takeaway. Secretly, do you want to draw the Terminator comics? Skynet is the artificial intelligence that dominates the world and generates self-awareness, which has risen to the level of intelligent life. With this big killer, Tony's Gewiss is a scum, but I don't know how it compares to Ultron. What's more, the Terminator in the later stage of the series is really good. It is enough to be a bodyguard for ordinary people, and it can be put into the company, and it can also be mass-produced. The more Su Mo thought about it, the more he felt it was okay. After eating the takeaway, he hurriedly walked into the study and began to draw the gourd. Golly changed channels, and the night news host reported, an explosion occurred in a military laboratory. Witnesses said that a huge green monster was seen in the billowing smoke. Chapter 23. In the early morning, the warm sun fell on the ground, and Edward got up from the mat early. He knew that today was the release date of the second issue of Juvenile Jump. He hurriedly baked the bread and took milk and ran to the nearest bookstore. When he came, he was startled by the sight in front of him. How did the boss open the door? Hurry up. Give me a Juvenile Jump. I have a copy too. I want 3 copies. Crowded people piled up in front of the bookstore, making noise and noise, but they were all clamoring to jump. It's a fascinating age. Edward watched this scene, his eyes could not help being flushed. He was a comic critic and a reader. In the past, he was extremely disappointed in every evaluation. He hopes that there will be real cartoonists to save this sick cartoon industry, and now it has finally appeared. The store manager is an old acquaintance before, and he received a lot of money as early as last night. Last week, the comic magazine company sold 190,000 copies, and fools didn't buy too much. Soon all these he moved out were sold out, and the popularity was unprecedented since he opened the store. Scattered people came to ask questions constantly, all came to buy Jump, but they could only show disappointed expressions and left empty-handed. Edward didn't worry that it was really out of stock. In fact, he greeted the store manager yesterday and kept a copy. When he walked a few steps with a smile, there was a scream of exclamation from the stream of people who hadn't dispersed. Fuck, Saitama is so strong. Is this a new character? Didn't you find out? The price is different, but it's much thicker than before. All the voices tickled in Edward's heart. Oh shit, damn spoiler party, can't you honestly do it? Hurriedly stepped forward and shouted at the store manager who was calling to request additional goods. Old man. The store manager didn't have time to look after him, so he pointed to the drawer and started talking for himself. Edward had to get into the inner room and pull out the comic magazine from it. I held it in my hand like a treasure and took a look at it. The high-level painter in the past is different from the first phase. The front is still Saitama, but new scenes appear on the left and right sides. On one side, a person who seemed to be skinless and exploding with blood vessels was lying on the wall and looking down. It was clear that the people below were very small. Advertisement giant? Or a dwarf? On the other side, it was relatively simple. A weak and casual young man sat in a chair in the vast expanse of whiteness. Behind it was a woman with long purple hair, an elegant surname, and a charming figure, bowed her head and said something. Compared with other readers with little reading experience, they will guess whether they are new characters, and Edward can see at first glance that there is no relationship between the three. In other words, Shonen Jump began publishing 2 new comics in this issue. This is also normal. It is impossible for a comic magazine to serialize only one comic. Edward couldn't wait to put down the money and rushed back. On the way, many young people were reading comics. He didn't want to look through the street like this, hurried back home, turned on the computer, clicked on Twitter, and prepared to comment immediately after reading, made a delicious cup of coffee, settled down, and then opened the page. One page. Following the previous story of the battle between the Underworld King and Saitama, then it was a dream. Edward's expression froze. The first page is so simple and clear that so many long-awaited fighting ideas have been crushed, but then think about it, so that the plot is in line with Saitama. One Punch Man. One Punch Man. The name of the comic says it all. It's still the same as the previous episode with 4 episodes, the appearance of Janosch, the appearance of some weird people undoubtedly firm the style of the beginning. Cool, cool and lazy. Seeing this, Edward was relieved. Many new comics are beginning with God, ending with horses, and ending with dogs. As long as the follow-up plot is maintained in accordance with the rhythm of these 8 words, this year's Dark Horse champion is that Saitama did not run. Immediately after turning over One Punch, the next page is the title page of the new comic. The title page is the cover of the comic. As before, it is enlarged to make it clearer. The bright red comic title listed on the side, Attacking Giant. It is too late to think that Edward is completely obsessed with the new comics that follow, and the stories and settings are breathtaking. The Attacking Giant is telling, there are countless huge giants suddenly appearing in the world, and the lives of ordinary humans are threatened like never before. In order to protect their own safety, the last humans built 3 high walls, Maria, Ruth, and Hina. Mankind has ushered in a century of peace, but it has also allowed itself to become a bird in a cage, humiliatingly losing its freedom. Suddenly one day, the supergiant and the giant of armor smashed through the outermost layer of Maria, awakening the long dream that humans seem to never awaken. Advertisement in this incident, Alan Yeager, a teenager who did not want to curl up inside the wall, witnessed his mother being killed, and he joined the investigation corps. With unspeakable hatred and hatred for giants, he vowed to kill all giants. Edward was surprised to find that although only 5 episodes were serialized, each of these episodes weighed so much more than the previous One Punch. In Chapter 5, 5 years later, the supergiant struck again and broke the second wall, countless giants once again ravaged the town, and the investigative corps fought with it. Then the protagonist was eaten to save people. Edward was stunned. How did this comic kill the protagonist at the end? What the hell is this drawing? Isn't Alan the protagonist? Wait, maybe what superpower we'll get in the next episode, right? But this is not a superhero theme. Edward can't guess the subsequent development of the plot, which has nothing to do with the hero. Thinking of this, Edward's scalp went numb, and he suddenly realized that he was addicted to non-hero subjects. The non-hero subject matter has been a desert since ancient times. Whoever paints will die. There were once big names who vowed to expand. Since the comic critics who are well known as poisonous mouths are deeply attracted, can other readers not buy it? Edward even guessed that the internet must be noisy, so he held up his temper and turned to the next page, which was another new comic. Tokyo Ghoul. Looking down, Tong Kong shrank sharply, and he found that the author's name was Su Mo, and quickly flipped forward. Shocked, seriously serialized 3 books at the same time. At this time, he remembered that the boss of this publishing company seemed to be also named Su Mo. The stormy sea turned up in his heart, and the facts had to convince him. The boss draws comics part-time and publishes his own book, which is so popular. Can this work? Seeking evaluation votes. Chapter 24. The brilliance of a new day rises from the horizon, and a faint white light rises from the horizon, standing in an old castle in the northern suburbs of New York. The green grass is like cloudy, shimmering by the small lake. Many students are playing in this flat open space. If the people of New York come in, they will definitely be frightened. A student suddenly split out of 3 identical people while playing basketball. A girl ran around looking at obstacles along the way as if there was nothing, and went straight through. There was also a young man with a tall body and a shiny medal. And many more. This is the Xavier Bandit Youth Academy, and it is also the mutant school. Bobby, what do you think I bought? Fireman John raised the comic magazine in his hand and walked to the Iceman Bobby's side. You bought a juvenile jump? The bookstores around me were all sold out when I walked in the morning. Bobby was surprised when he saw the comic. When John saw this, he smiled triumphantly. I was prepared. I met a child on the way and bought it at double the price. It doesn't seem to be something to be proud of. What do you care about so much? John was a little displeased and angrily said, Don't look at it, don't look at it, I'll take it back and see for myself. Both John and Poppy are passionate teenagers, and comics were involved in spiritual entertainment, but the heroism in them made them a little offensive. The reason is simple, they are mutants. Professor Charles came to search one by one, or his parents felt that something was wrong and couldn't bear to hand it in, so they had to throw it away. In this way, most of the children in the school have been abandoned by their parents. They didn't grow up very well. At this time, watch a God-righteous man, Captain Steve, in the comics to eradicate evil and help abandon ordinary people like them. To be honest, it is very difficult to have a good mood, and at the same time I wonder if there are such people to help them, even though I know it is impossible. Saitama of One Punch Man was incredibly casual, and didn't use any moral excuses to kill the weird people. It was incomparable to the taste of both of them, and he became a fan at that time. Hey, Saitama is still so powerful. I have such a power to protect everyone. Did you not find out? There is a stronger presence in it than Saitama. Bobby was surprised, and asked quickly, who is it? He watched comics with John, why didn't he notice? John showed his eyes full of meaning, and pointed to a page. Advertisement that is a mosquito. Saitama didn't kill him with a series of slaps, but instead buzzed and fled. Mosquito, why can't Saitama hit it? With Saitama's terrifying truth, how can one fail to see the movement of a mosquito in a mere sight? Incredible. John said in a huff, how do I know? John originally wanted to make a joke, but Poppy didn't think about it more. He didn't think about it, but he left it behind. There are new comics, it doesn't seem to be a superhero subject. Soon after, Bobby and John finished the entire comic magazine. John suddenly asked inexplicably, you said Jinmu wants to eat human flesh. Tokyo Ghoul, only 3 episodes are serialized, which is different from the start of the Attacking Giant, which is only centered on human nature, and there is no conflict. Tokyo Ghoul, only 3 episodes are serialized, which is different from the start of the Attacking Giant, which is only centered on human nature, and there is no conflict. Compared with the previous 2 works, it pales in comparison, and it seems that only cannibalism is a bit attractive. I don't want to, the comics are so clear, are you stupid? After Bobby heard the words, he affirmed Kide. Yeah, he didn't want to eat, but he ate it in the end. John's face grew darker and annoyed, don't you think Bobby is in a similar situation to the mutant? Mutants don't eat people but are regarded as guilty, and then they are marginalized, and they finally get together with the same people to keep warm. John was sent to school, impulsively, he didn't like the peaceful atmosphere here, and he felt like a beast. He didn't like to be a mutant at first. What he needed was relatives, kind parents. He couldn't help substituting when he looked at Jinmu. Cannibalism is a last resort, and the same is true for being a mutant. This is survival. Bobby was a bit confused for a while, but he didn't expect John to have this kind of thought. To be honest, he didn't substitute it, and it seemed to make sense. Advertisement at this moment, a gentle voice came from behind the two of them. John, do you really think so? The two looked back, but the redhead pushed the old man in the wheelchair slowly. John is usually careless, violent, and provocative, but in front of the mutant leader, he is like a good baby. Professor, You are true, John, this cannot be denied, but we will eventually get along with humans. Professor Charles smiled faintly, glanced at the cartoon in John's hand, and paused. Can you let me have a look? John hurriedly handed it over, and under the sign of Qin, he ran away with Bobby like a frightened little rabbit. Bobby was dragged away, and said depressed, the professor doesn't feel terrible, why is he so excited? Actually, I lied to you just now. This comic was not bought twice. I snatched it from a kid, but I paid the original price. John patted fiercely and explained. John really didn't see that you would snatch children's things. I read you wrong, and the professor would not read our thinking. Bobby expressed his disdain. John is usually domineering, but he didn't expect to run outside to snatch it. Just now he said that mutants don't eat human flesh. You even said that lollipop comics? Qin watched the two of them gradually move away, and leaned over to see Charles flipping through the comics, and curiously said, Professor, why are you interested in comics? Comics are popular among teenagers and children, and the older they become, the more senseless they are, especially for professors who have a lot of experience. Regardless of the media reports on Shonen Jump, I mentioned it slightly. In the eyes of adults, it is just an ordinary comic magazine, and people who are not interested will never read it. Especially the social elites, the celebrities simply skipped it, let alone a leader like Charles who has dedicated himself to the mutants. I have never heard of it. Nothing, just curiosity. I can feel the thoughts mentioned in the next two comics by Su Mo, and I kind of want to see him. If I don't understand the piano, what else can I think in philosophy when I read a cartoon? In this way, Qin, buy one for me every time a new issue is released. Okay, Professor. Qin responded while pushing the wheelchair, thinking that I would also check it out. Seeking evaluation votes. Support a lot. Chapter 25. God. Isn't this kind of thinking the current situation in the United States? After reading it, Edward was full of the plot inside, and he deeply felt the author's intention. Compared to Bobby John's superficial reading, Charles, who has a lot of experience, and a comic critic who has looked at thousands of comics. The directionality of the two comics is very obvious. Edward crackled on the keyboard. At this time, Twitter was already arguing and fans received the message. The second issue of Youth Jump does not say much, it is far beyond my expectations, do you understand the thoughts in it? Let me come one by one. The first manga overturned the traditional concept of heroism and created a new definition of heroes. The settings contained in it were satires of common superhero comics. The second book, Attack on Titan, the story of the story is very straightforward. The origin of the giant, the construction of the city wall, etc. are directly set as suspense. In the third Tokyo Ghoul, the protagonist is just an ordinary person in life, who has been miserably suffered from man-made disasters, wandering on eating and not eating, aroused the inner blood of most teenagers and the sympathy and compassion for the protagonist. Among them, the concept of Kazuka was also mentioned in the second chapter, and it shifted to the hot-blooded battle, reaching the level of Superman's compelling standard. From a few words, one can discover the reflections on humans and aliens revealed in the comics, that is, when a creature can no longer be reduced to a pure species, what should he do? Both new comics reveal one direction, that is, alien. When fans saw a lot of water here, they all posted comments below, which completely became a screen of water flow. Why didn't I see anything? What did Edward say? Alien, no nonsense. I am not blind. What the hell, why can Edward see so much from the ghoul? How do I feel that ghoul starts so well? Upstairs, you are not alone. The giant attacking is much more beautiful than the ghoul. Lord Kakuzu is dying. What a man cannibalism. So many people early in the morning, Fac, I haven't bought it yet. Edward makes a lot of sense. Whatever you don't understand is a brain dead. Hehe, I found a fan. The two comics are so awkward. The protagonist is a spicy chicken, or Saitama is handsome. Suddenly, there were disturbances, and the heat soared again, making it into the top 10. Advertisement. Edward smiled when he saw it, only the heat went up, his reanalysis will usher in a big explosion, and this article may still be up and down by the time. When the popularity reached the top 5 on Twitter, Edward clicked the enter key on the information he had compiled and sent it out. Perhaps no one realizes the meaning of the aliens I said. As we all know, fantasy depends on reality, and so does comics. Just yesterday at the New York Carnival, Green Goblin, the super criminal, appeared in the massacre. He was an outlier. At a critical moment, the superhero Spider-Man appeared, and he is also an alien to us. Then substituting into the comics, it is not difficult to find that New Yorkers or ordinary people are not just civilians surrounded by walls. Civilians can only be slaughtered by giants, only the core can resist, and only other friendly aliens can protect us. I can boldly guess that Alan in the giant's belly is the Spider-Man on the wall. Let's talk about the third book. Alien is a cannibalism and cannibalism. Jin Wian is a half-human and half-cannon, who is kind to people, but has to eat meat to survive. These meats are just the flesh of corpses, and the Anding district just wants peace, does not want to hurt mankind. So in reality, who partly has malicious intent toward humans, and who also has good intentions toward humans at the same time? That is, mutant. In 1973, when the president was attacked, Magneto was the murderer, and it was the devil who prevented evil. In 1973, when the president was attacked, Magneto was the murderer, and it was the devil who prevented evil. Mutants are a large group. According to the latest research, they are actually a branch of humans. Mutants are heterogeneous, and heterogeneous are not all mutants. It is not difficult to see from this that the third comic is the progressive thought of the second comic. That is, in this extremely chaotic era, human beings need to form an institution similar to the Investigation Corps to protect us, and they need heterogeneous and peaceful coexistence that is friendly to humans. The new issue of the weekly shows that friendly mutants are important to mankind, and it is also an accusation of the Mutant Registration Act. The above is my personal guess, and does not represent the standpoint of the comics. After Edward published this long tweet, the comment area fell into an unprecedented tranquility since the beginning. Edward was originally full of letters, but saw that he didn't say a word. He felt a panic in his heart, and said in secret, "Is it possible that he is really a little foolish?" After all, the comics didn't say a word at all. Relying on his many years of speculation and association as a comic critic, maybe he really thinks too much? Advertisement in the next second, countless comments scrolled under Twitter, pouring out like a well. Zayat, it makes me horrified to hear that, goosebumps are all up. It seems so, is this true? Hey! Why am I so confused? Me too, my mind is a little messy, which means that the cartoonist is an anti-registration party. Then I drew a cartoon. I want to say but I don't know what to say. Is the author witnessing the mutant's name? I was so scared that I was on the floor. Edward, do you believe in yourself? No one noticed the Spider-Man on the wall? It sounds funny. At Marvel Comics, someone has stolen the manuscript. Call the police. The fans were very excited, and their hearts throbbed through Edward's explanation. The current comics have never mirrored reality. At most, there is a similar ability, a similar name, and the drawing is the same person of the Captain of the United States. The 3 books now appearing are all related to reality. One directly breaks the inherent concept of heroes, and the other 2 go around the circle to express that it is time for human beings to reflect on their own definitions. Obviously there was only one issue, and the general background of the world was not fully understood, so Edward lost a shocking bullet with reality. It looks nonsense, but I don't know how to refute it. At a time when opinions were divergent, Edward's next book review on Twitter came up. Marvel Comics Company Sue Mo, books that have been read for 12 years are not as good as your show. The hot comments are even more explosive, is it true? Now I have a real hammer, so I don't need to read it later. The real hammer is not to be watched yet, and there is no spoiler. It even kicked the first one down. If the previous is the shock bomb, Sue Mo's comment is the explosion of the nuclear bomb, and more netizens have poured in. Guan is mutants is a big topic. Then Twitter stuck. Seeking evaluation votes. Seek support. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.